All right. Hello. I think this is live. Went live a few minutes early because I'm bored waiting. This is not working. Why is it not working? All right. There we go. Now we're live. Oh, hopefully somebody will show up. I mean, although I like talking to myself, I got to admit it, but it's still a little strange. Oh, there's a lot going on in my head about this case, and I can't stop thinking about it. I can't stop reading about it, writing about it, recording about it. So I figured I may as well come and decompress with all of you guys. Hey, hi everyone. Miss Clutterbug, Paul, Jenna, Jess. How are you doing, Jess? I hope you're feeling better. Leanne, Debbie, Christy, Cheryl. You guys might hear some background noises. My cats have just decided that a stack of empty Amazon boxes is their new plaything, and they're bashing them all around the floor. They picked a fine time to start doing that. So I'm sorry for noise. Also, I have a couple fans running. If it's really noisy, just let me know and I can turn them off. Hey, Natscat, how are you doing? Haven't talked to you in quite a long time. Hi, Shelly, Tracy, Sherry. Woohoo. Real Royal, how you doing? I'm glad you're new to the channel. Welcome. Absolutely fantastic to see some new names. All right, so this case has got me, guys. It's got me in a way that I can't stop thinking about it. I wake up in the morning and the first thing I do is open my tweet deck to see if there's any news. Yeah, Jenna, I do have AC. They did fix it finally, but I just have fans going because I like air moving, but I don't know how much the mic is picking them up. So if it's too windy sounding, just say the word and I can turn them off. I am sitting here with a big woolly blanket over my lap, so it's not like I'm hot. Oh, man. Yeah, Sherry, I am obsessed with this case. There was no news today. I've been trying to put out a daily news update every day about the case, anything that happens, but nothing happened today. The only news is the story from East Idaho News talking about the testing that's going on with the children's remains, which, that's not exactly news. We know that they're doing that. It could be a couple weeks. So that's all we know. We just got to wait a while. Hi, Amy. How are you doing? Amy Gibbs, who is not related to Melanie Gibb, which doesn't have an S on the end of her name. We're going to have to keep saying that very clearly. Hi, Kathy. Nice to see you. Has this been covered in mainstream media? A little bit. Not as much as you might assume. I have seen some mentions of it on CNN. A lot of local news channels are covering it. East Idaho News, Fox 10 Phoenix, KSL, little local channels. But it's not really a big, huge mainstream news story, which is strange because there's so much to this case. It's fascinating. So, but yeah, today we learned that the Ada County medical examiner was working on the case and they're doing additional testing and it could take weeks. So we might not have any more information on this case until August 3rd, which is when Chad's hearing is. Although Laurie's hearing is scheduled for July 9th, but I'm expecting that to change. So we're going to have to see. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm a little out of breath. I feel like I'm all riled up and I'm not sure why. This case has taken me to a level of anxiety that I don't normally feel when covering true crime stuff. So I figured I'd come on and watch to see what are you guys all thinking about the case? What's on your mind about it? I'm still stuck on the Melanie Gibb interviews. I can't seem to let go of those. Oh. Yeah, Nat, it is a long wait for new info. It really is. I want to hear what Alex's wife has to say. Yeah, Zulema. We haven't heard a peep from Zulema since all this went down. Nobody is saying where she is. She hasn't come out in public. No one's picked up on any social media posts or anything from her, so we have nothing from Zulema. Did you see the post from a teacher who knew Laurie back when Charles was still alive? Cherie, I think so. I covered that in my news story yesterday, unless it's a different one. JJ's teachers from Lauren's Academy in Gilbert, they came out and they did a news interview. They showed some really cool pictures of him, so if you haven't seen that, the update from 624 has the pictures and some of the statements from the teachers. They said that Laurie lied to them. She told them that Charles had committed suicide and that she was moving to California for a job. So, that's what Laurie does. She lies a lot. Zulema's culpable. It's quite possible. Zulema married Alex shortly before he died. And Zulema was very close to Laurie. And then all of a sudden, Alex turns up dead. So, she may have something to hide. We have no idea. Yeah, she's busy making earthquakes. That there was a big 7.4 earthquake in Mexico. Maybe that's where she is. Maybe we should start tracking the geologic events and track down Zulema. Melanie Gibb wants to be the new leader of the 144,000. I totally agree. Absolutely. She seems to very much be baking in the sunlight. Basking in the sunlight and enjoying all the attention, the interviews. Yeah, that's Melanie's new thing. Robbie from ABQ. Oh my goodness, thank you so much. Look at that sticker. That is so cute. I love it. Oh, thank you, Robbie. So glad to have you here. Have you noticed how much Laurie aged in jail? When I saw the video of Laurie when Charles was shot, you see when she pulls up and the cops go out and talk to her, the body cam video. She looks, I hate to say it, but she's a very beautiful woman. But she does not look like the same person. Like from her January arrest in February and all that, she does not look like that same person. So, yeah, I don't think a life of crime is suiting her very well. Jess says she couldn't lead an ant farm of 144K. But imagine, Jess, if Melanie Gibb had an ant farm of 144,000, she'd have a captive audience. They would just sit there in their little glass ant farm and she could proselytize to them all day. That's probably the best thing we could do for her is buy her an ant farm. I have to cough one. Okay. You have a sense that Zulema was handpicked by Chad to wed Alex. Oh, Alistair, I totally agree. And again, total theory. Remember, this is casual chat night, so I'm just going to spew whatever theories happen to pop in my head. So none of this is fact. But Zulema and Alex, Ian and Melanie. I know that Ian and Melanie say they met on a dating app, but I don't really believe that. I think Chad may have had a hand in that. I think these two marriages in particular were serving some purpose for Chad and Laurie's plan. Don't know what that is, but that's what it seems to me, So yeah, and plus with all Zulema's energy work and all that stuff, it would not be surprising at all if we find out there was a purpose for that. Zulema was, I don't know. Do I think Melanie told a lie? I think, yeah. I assume Melanie peaks. There's no E on that. I think she told quite a few lies. I really do. And I think she's going to have a day of reckoning. I'll always say only if Mel G had called the police, it would have saved. Yeah, Robbie, she had so many opportunities. She could have saved Charles, JJ, Tylee, Tammy, and possibly even Alex too. She could have saved 5 people. And she didn't. So, I have gotten a lot of comments about Melanie Gibb. And, she didn't do anything wrong. She didn't kill anyone. La, 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 la. I'm like, yeah, but she let 5 people die. That's pretty bad in my book. I don't know about you guys, but, Crazy theory. Melanie P's baby is Chad's. A lot of people are speculating that. I would not be surprised to find that out. Then I wouldn't be surprised if it was Ian's. I wouldn't be surprised if she wasn't pregnant. Nothing at this point is going to surprise me. I did watch Rosemary's Baby the other night when I couldn't sleep and had a few thoughts about that when it comes to Melanie. So, you know what I mean? This case, it's doing my head in. Do you think that group might have killed more? Easily distracted asks a good question. When we look at everything we know about Chad and Laurie and all of their relations, I don't know if there are more people they may have encountered along their way that have disappeared. It's certainly possible, but it seems like all the people that we know so far are accounted for. But it's they killed 6 people, allegedly, possibly. But would I be surprised if there are more? No. Do I think there are more? Maybe. Maybe. It's certainly not going to rule it out and say, no way. And they only went to the police after David pressured her in December. Tracy, see, that's another thing that we have some mixed information about. Because on one hand, Melanie, the police were looking for Melanie because, remember, Chad and Laurie told them JJ was with her on November 26th. And so the police were trying to find her to verify that story. And she kind of hid out from them. She didn't answer the phone for 12 hours or so until they showed up to find her or something like that. It took them, they had to go to great lengths to get in touch with her. And then she finally talked to them. So do I really think David really pressured her? I don't know about that. He says he did. She says she did or something, but it seems more like she got cornered and she had to. So that's a whole nother strike against her. Amy Gibbs, thank you so much. Look at that sticker. That looks like my cat right now, looking at his pile of boxes on the floor. Oh. Marcy Fleming, excellent point. Melanie Gibb did not kill anyone, but neither did Charles Manson. Yep, very true. I think more ex-husbands and kids could have been killed if Kay hadn't stepped in. Jess, totally. Kay was the one who made the first call to police, asking them to do the wellness check on JJ. What if she hadn't done that? What if she had believed Laurie's story that, oh, he's just here, he's just there, everything's fine, and she hadn't stepped in? Where would they have gone next? Who was in trouble next? That's a scary thought. Deborah Adams, do you think they have the marriages arranged? I think at least Alex and Zulema and Melanie and Ian's marriage were arranged by Chad and Laurie. Why? Not too sure. I have no evidence to back that up. That's just my gut feeling on that. The bankruptcy attorney that Laurie owed a lot of money to, think he died of an embolism or heart issue. Oh, really? I haven't heard of that one. That's interesting. Huh. Oh, I did hear something interesting today. And y'all can help me. We can crowdsource digging into this. Apparently, there is a doctor named Dr. Nelson who sponsors some kind of energy work healing program designed by Julie Rowe. And he does a lot of this. And there's some connection with Julie Rowe, maybe even Jason Mouse, somebody else with this doctor. And they all used to meet at his office or something. I'm not sure what this is all about, but we need to find this Dr. Nelson who has a connection to Julie Rowe and dig into that. So if you're bored and you want to do some intensive Googling, let's see if there's anything to that story. That's just a rumor, but let's find out and see what's going on. Cherie asks, what sort of poison can cause an embolism? I have no idea. I am not up on my poisons. Although, if you listen to Julie Rowe's latest interview, I think it was Court TV, or possibly on Nancy Grace, where she said that Chad used, get this, an energized, poisoned spirit weapon that Chad learned how to use and was very good with this. I'm sorry, a what? Energized, poisoned spirit weapon. That's invisible, by the way. So, maybe that can cause an embolism. I don't know. And Julie Rose says this. She says this on TV, and she goes, all right, now, this may sound crazy, but I speak the truth. Chad used an energized poison spirit weapon that's invisible. And I'm like, did you just say you speak the truth? Even though, yeah, oh, goodness. I mean, and this, I don't know, if I was like Vinnie Politano on Court TV or Nancy Grace, whatever you think of Nancy Grace, and somebody said that on my show, I'd be like, here's the off button. I'm pushing it. We're going to go talk about sports ball now because that's enough of that crazy town. I wouldn't want that on my national TV show because the damage that does to the credibility of the show as a whole is just unbelievable. Because I'm sorry, that's crazy town. There are no such thing as invisible energy poison spirit weapons. they don't exist. I'm sorry. I don't want to burst anyone's bubbles, but yeah. Hi, Paula. Drive safely, please. Yeah, Julie Rowe. Even Paul said tonight in his life, he hasn't really touched on Julie Rowe, and neither have I, specifically because there's nothing of value that she has to offer. Even the story, it's just crazy. Everything she says is crazy. She has visions of the kids. She has visions of that. Chad is wonderful. Chad is the next Messiah, until all of a sudden the bodies are found. And then Chad sexually assaulted me. Chad said I was his past life, wife, whatever. And it's like, no, every time she opens her mouth, her story changes and it gets crazier and crazier. So yeah, that's why I haven't touched on her. I don't have any videos up about Julie Rowe because I can't give you anything about her that makes sense or makes the case make more sense. It's just muddying the waters with crazy. Absolutely crazy. Clout chaser. Yes, she is. She wants to be famous. She does a lot of podcasts from her car. I don't know why. She likes being in her car. Eric, what is his last name? Eric Snow? I can't remember. Eric Smith. Eric Smith is her manager, and he was on Court TV trying to be all credible and stuff recently, but he manages Julie Rowe, so how credible is he? Got to take all this into consideration. Larry and Kay did offer to take JJ. I think they offered to take both kids at one point, but it was too late by then. Yeah, Tracy, I have heard that too. And I heard that Laurie had thought about it or something, but that didn't happen, unfortunately. I wish it had. About the marriages, not confirmed, but it was said that Chad had a list of who is supposed to be married to who, hence the MP and Ian and MG and David. That's very possible. He had lists of all these people and whether they were dark or light spirits. And he had done a whole family history of Laurie's family about their past lives and marriages and darks and lights and all this stuff. So it's quite possible that he mapped out who he thought should be married to who, and that's where these marriages came from. With regards to the doctor, there is an interview of a woman who worked for an accountant or something that worked with patients in his office. The video is on Eats Idaho News. Oh, excellent. Somehow I missed that one. I'm going to go check that out because that was an interesting little tidbit. I have never heard about Dr. Nelson before. Cats, I am trying to do a live stream. Do we really need to come over and start arguing under my desk? Both of you, go to your corners. Come on. Shoo. Animals. Hello, Hubs. Yes, my kitties decided that now, as soon as I turn on the microphone, they're like, yay, boxes. And now they're under my desk fighting with each other. So yeah, Dr. Nelson, I'm going to look into him. Anyone who fell for Chad's goofball craziest is nutterier than he is. I'll definitely agree with that. Kay and Larry told Laurie, then offered to take both kids. Yep. Yeah, Laurie was very unhappy that Kay got the life insurance money. Yes, she was. Dr. Bradley Nelson. Okay. Excellent. Thank you, Alistair. I'll make a note of that, and we'll look into him. Dank says, when she said, why didn't he apologize to me in her interview about Chad being with Laurie, it became obvious Chad was with her too. Yeah, do we really think that Chad was an upstanding, husband to Tammy for all those years without any dalliances at all? I don't. We haven't had a lot of people come forward, maybe out of embarrassment, but thought I had a cat in my car. You could, Paula, if you'd like one. I have several. You can take one. I cannot fathom how Chad sucked in anyone into the spaceship cult, much less the woman found him attractive. Yeah, that's a mystery. Like the thumbnail says, we're talking about mysteries, and how women found Spud so attractive is a mystery. I don't like to pick on looks and all that stuff. And you guys know I have my own weight issues to deal with, but there's Chad. He's kind of in his own category. I know that Laurie freaked out in jail. Well, Dorothy, we don't know that. We don't know that at all. That's a rumor that went around. Some person said it wasn't true. Some people said it was, but we don't know that. Chad reminds me of the Trinity Killer on Dexter. Yeah, I love Dexter. Denise actually used to call me Dexter. Back when I was really into the making a murderer stuff, I had taken courses on blood spatter analysis because that case had intrigued me so much. And I was talking to her on one of her lives once about the blood spatter in the making a murderer case. And that's when she nicknamed me Dexter. So she used to call me Dexter a lot. Oh, that was a great show. Are the cats corralled now? Or one of them? My husband had to take the cats and move them to the other room because they decided to act up. Jess says she felt the same way about Patrick Frazee, how he got so many women, I will never know. Yep, it's definitely a good question. How do you think the death notification went? They went into the jail to tell her the children had died. I don't know. I have no idea what that process might have looked like. I really don't. I knew Denise. Robbie asked how long I knew Denise. I met her in, I believe it was March of 2018, 2019. So a year or two. Now I don't even remember how long it's been. It feels like it's been my entire life, but I think it was only about a year. Yeah. Chatty Catty, I wonder what Tammy thought of all Chad's teachings. Did she, that's a really good question. That's something that I'm starting to see discussed on the different boards and groups and things. How much, she worked at his publishing business, so she had to have at least read his books or knew what they were about, and obviously, didn't raise too much of a fuss when he went traveling to all of these meetups for preparing a people. So she had to know at least the basics. I don't know how much she knew. That would be an interesting thing. I'd like to think, from what we know of Tammy, which is very, very little, that she would not have approved of this whole zombie crazy magic stuff. But we don't know. Hi, yeah, buddy. How are you doing? It's so good to see you. Haven't got to talk to you in a while. I hope everything is well over there. Pamela says Laurie can talk to friends, family, assuming there are any left, on tablets anytime she wants. Yep. She cannot talk to Chad, only because we know from Chad's hearing that the judge prevented him from talking to anyone involved in the case. So including through a third party. So she should not be having any contact with Chad unless they're violating that, which, knowing these two, they don't seem to think any of the laws apply to them. I think maybe they heard all these stories about seeing things before they happened. They fell for his powers. Yeah, they did. Chad's weight loss is an illusion. Reality, just his head getting bigger and bigger. Diana, that's possible. Oh, yeah, Paula, I did hear that she's not allowed mail or care packages. Alistair has some information on Dr. Bradley Nelson, the emotion code and the body code. Julie wrote about him. Google Julie Rowe and Dr. Nelson, and the time is now. Excellent. I will do that. That'll be my project for tomorrow. Let's figure out what that's all about. And, that's an interesting connection. If he knew Chad and Laurie and there was a doctor involved in all of this mix, that's something we should consider. So we can look into that. Mindset Academy. Tomorrow is Laurie's birthday. Let's send Oprah to wish her a happy one. Oh, goodness. I was on the phone with my mother tonight, and we were talking about my birthday, which is coming up the last week of July. And, my mother's quite a funny person. And we're talking about this case. She's always been into true crime. I was raised around her and her true crime stories. So this case, of course, has caught her attention, her fascination, and I have to call her and give her all the daily updates. And today she was like, with everything going on, civil unrest, financial collapse, the pandemic going on, I can see where Laurie and Chad right now are thinking they're right about this end of the world thing. And I guess I'm going to hold off on sending you a birthday present until we find out if we make it past the 22nd or not. Like, thanks, Mom. Thanks. Okay. Yeah, you just hold off. So, yes, my mother isn't convinced we're going to make it to my birthday this year because Chad and Laurie might be right. Oh. Do you think Chad is preaching his craziness in jail? Jen, I'm pretty sure he is. I am pretty sure he is. Do they still believe the end of life date? We don't know. We don't know. It seems that their followers still do, you know. G-Dub says, please discuss. Melanie Gibb keeps talking about how people had to die due to Chad and Laurie's teachings. She's telling us that they're guilty of all the... Yes, absolutely, G-Dubs. In her first interview with Nate Eaton, Nate asks her right off the bat, in the first 2 minutes of the interview, why are you doing this now? And she says, because I wanted to honor those who have passed. Charles, JJ, Tammy, Tylee, and then she goes on. And Nate kind of, I don't know if he picked up on that, but right there she's saying JJ and Tylee had passed. And I was like, wait, what? What do you mean those who have passed? We don't know JJ and Tylee are dead. It's clear to me that she absolutely did know, so yeah. And she believed the zombie thing. She believed in this zombie thing. She'll say, oh, well, I thought it was strange. But what she said on Monday night's episode about Charles, she said, well, I thought that they would just, say a prayer over him and the spirit would leave him and he'd just die. I didn't think they'd shoot him, or I didn't see that coming. But in order to have said that, then she has to believe the zombie thing was true. And if she thought the zombie thing was true, and she connected that with, obviously that's why Charles is dead, and then she found out that JJ and Tylee were zombies and did nothing, that is why I am so angry with Melanie Gibb. She could have saved them, and she did not, because she believed this. It's possible that her beliefs were that deep and extreme that she really thought that killing them would free their spirits from limbo and they could go on to the afterlife. And it had to happen. That does not make it right or less crazy, but that could be her thought process. She could still believe it to this day. We don't know yet until all of the information comes out. But, yep, Jess says those interviews will be her undoing. I really think they will. I really do. Once they let the psychologist loose on those interviews, yeah, that will be some interesting testimony. Alistair asks, why would they kill JJ when Mel and David were in the house? Why was the witnesses? Now, this is something that we've had some discussions on in the quiet corners of Discord and things. Think about it. Melanie Pulowski lived in the apartment immediately next door to Laurie. Right? Melanie lived in apartment 174. Laurie lived in 175. Alex lived in 107. All right, so we know at least Melanie, maybe even Ian, Laurie, JJ, Alex, Melanie, and David, possibly even Chad, we don't know, were there that night in her apartment when JJ died. We don't know exactly what time he died. We don't know who killed him. We don't know if he was in Laurie's apartment, if he was in Alex's apartment, if he was somewhere else. But that night, overnight, between the last he was seen and when he was buried the next morning, all of those people were there. That's a big problem. I have a very hard time thinking nobody knew but Laurie and or Alex. I don't buy that for a second. Melanie P. didn't live in Idaho in September. I thought she did. Melanie P. moved up there with Laurie the week of September 1st, and she lived in the next door apartment. I don't know if Ian was there at that time. I think Ian was living there before they got there. But as far as all of the records that we have, even the affidavit, didn't move until 10/1. Are you sure? Let me actually look that up. Because I believe it said that she moved September with Laurie, the kids, Alex, and Melanie. All moved in September. Now they're saying 11/1. Guys, we have 3 different months going here. November for Melanie. Late October for Melanie. Ian lived across the street. Mel moved up November 1. Melanie may have moved in October, but she went to Laurie's in September and Hawaii with them in October. She was definitely not. All right, I'm going to look up, because I know in the timeline it does say that she moved up there the same time as Laurie, but I will find out what factual information we have to nail that down. She left her house on October 31st. She moved in on November 1st. Okay. She said if she wasn't with her kids, she was with Laurie. I heard Melanie say October. She packed up her stuff on Halloween. All right, I will do some more digging and come up with some official source documents or whatever to show when that was. See if we can nail that down definitively. I was under the impression that she was with Laurie in September and October. She went and visited Rexburg and went to Hawaii with them. Okay. And I realized maybe I can find a copy of her lease for that apartment to find out when she moved in. That would be interesting. So yeah. All right, I will double check on when Melanie says in an interview she moved at the beginning of November. Okay, she was still living in Arizona when Brandon was shot at in the 2nd of October. Okay. All right, so we got more clarity on that. Yeah, trying to figure this out based on her word, like Amy says, is kind of a lost cause here. If the only information we have are what Melanie, and Laurie and them say, then yeah, we need to find a lease agreement or something. Yeah, I will see. Actually, it's probably in Brandon Boudreau's custody filing. I will go back over that because that would be an official court document that would have a date. That would be useful. And I know I've got the documents. They are up in the Discord channel. If anyone needs a link to that, just yell. I don't know if the leasing info is on Zillow, but the releasing is on Zillow. You can see when the apartment came back up for renewal or another lease. But yeah, Alistair, don't be intimidated. I know it's a new program, and I hate learning new programs too. But Discord, once you get in, it's actually really easy. So, and that's why I put all the documents and stuff. But yes, I'll go back through Brandon's custody papers and see if we can find what he says about when she moved. They reported that JJ... Oh, no. I'm not going over that. All of the information about what they found about JJ is in the affidavit. And I have a video on that where I read through it verbatim if you want to check that out. The affidavit documents are also in the Discord, so you can read them. Check the Zillow. It'll give you all that information. The Zillow shows the listing and stuff, but it doesn't say when Melanie moved in. As far as I know, I did look at it. So I had the link up, I think, in the Facebook group. Yeah, Discord is easy. Let me give you a link to Discord. Where are all the mods? My mods must be asleep. It's late. This was an impromptu thing. There is a link to the Discord channel. Discord is free, so there's no cost to join Discord. And you can do text chats around the clock. You can do voice chats whenever you want with anyone you want, anywhere in the world. You can do video chats. There's all kinds of chat category rooms, so it's a very useful thing. There's Jess. Hi, Jess. So yeah, Discord is a great thing to use for anyone involved in like true crimey stuff, because you can share everything instantly, and it's just such a good platform. I love it. Dorothy, I'm not going over the condition of the bodies because of the rumors going around about it. I do not want to put out a rumor about the condition of the bodies or what happened to the bodies. I will tell you exactly what the affidavits say, but I will stop at the end of that. As you may or may not know, I have been having a bit of an argument with Nate Eaton about some of his comments about Tylee's remains, because he says, well, this happened to Tylee, and I'm like, where? Show me. And I have a DM running with Nate on Twitter. Show me where the affidavit says that happened to Tylee, because it does not. You can extrapolate what you think may have happened to Tylee, but nowhere in this document does it state that. And there are a lot of things people are saying about JJ's remains that the document does not state. You can read it one way and it kind of makes you think this. You can read it that way and it kind of makes you think that. But until there is official confirmation exactly about something about what happened to the children, no way on earth am I going to start saying rumors like that. They're too inflammatory, they're too painful, and it's not fair to the families. So that's why, yeah, that's exactly why I won't come out and say that. I have been I reread the part about JJ about 100 times the other day because somebody pointed out the way they read it. And I'm like, you know what? It really does sound like that. But it also really sounds like this. So we can't know for sure. We're going to find out. We are going to find out, and it's going to be terrible. But I don't want to promote any of those rumors. He corrected the statement that he said it was pre-mortem. He stands by the statement that the dismemberment happened. So, I was fighting with him about the dismemberment, period. He went on Nancy Grace and said it was pre-mortem dismemberment, and he corrected that part of it. But even in the article they posted today, he said she was dismembered. And I'm like, it does not say that. So, anyway. Oh, yeah, buddy, thank you. Oh, let me go check. I got to go check my Twitter. Let's go see this. Oh, that is so perfect. Oh, you rock. Thank you so much. That is perfect. If I can make it bigger because my eyeballs can't read it. Come on, make it bigger. Plus. All right, it says the agreement made on the 28th day of October. All right, Melanie Boudreau. Okay, so there we go. Yep, November 1st does sound like the thing. She signed the lease on the 28th. Perfect. I will add that to the document section of Discord. Thank you so much for finding that. That is absolutely perfect. All right, so now that changes my thing because I thought that Melanie was there on September 23rd, 22nd to 23rd. Maybe she wasn't. Maybe she was. Maybe she wasn't. She certainly wasn't living next door at the time. So, excellent. I like it when the pieces start coming together with factual stuff. Dorothy says he wouldn't know about the dismemberment because we haven't seen extensive autopsy, right? What I'm thinking about this whole Nate Eaton dismemberment thing is I know that Nate talks to some of the family members. Certainly, if law enforcement thought that happened, they would have notified the family. The family gets way more details than we ever will, right? And it's possible they let something slip to him, and then he let something slip. That's entirely possible, logical, and it's just a thing that happens. But until I see the autopsy or I hear it from law enforcement or the medical examiner or something, I'm not going to stand by that, because when I read the document, I see it differently. I see, okay, the bones were charred and loose and, possibly got scattered in the dirt. That still doesn't say to me purposeful dismemberment. So, I don't know. But that's what I think about that. But I'm glad he did retract the pre-mortem statement, although I think he just made a really big slip. So we'll see. Anyway, are you going to finish your podcast or your Narcissist? I am. I absolutely am. There are 3 or 4 more episodes to finish season 1, which is the story. Season 2 is going to be all about narcissism, identifying it, learning the red flags, how to get out of it when you find yourself in one of those relationships, and the healing process, which is a very long, arduous task. Unfortunately, my brain right now is 100% wrapped up in this. But I got to get back to that because toxic bliss, that's my roots. That's the point that I started even having a channel and doing the podcast, was because that story needed to get out there. And certainly narcissism ties into this case. So, there you go. I will finish it. I promise. I know it's been a long time and I'm sorry about that. But yep, it will be coming. Jess says there will be plenty of time after the autopsies are released. We really dig in with the Rosenbaum case was going on. Yep. Yeah. Once, if this goes to trial, assuming it will, all of that will eventually become known to us. And it's going to be horrible. But until then, we can talk about what we think might have happened or how things might have happened, but too many people are coming out with things as factual statements. Like Nate Eaton said, according to the released official documents, Tylee was dismembered. And I'm like, please show me the line where it says that in any official document that was released, and I'll get off your case. But so far that hasn't happened. So we'll see what happens. The family may have heard from the police. Yeah, Dorothy, that's quite possible. I mean, it's natural. When you think scattered bones and remains, what do you think? It's very natural to go towards dismemberment. But there are other explanations too. So, yeah, that's why I have to kind of wait and see. Thoroughly enjoyed your Patreon video on the history of Mormonism. Great. I had such a good time making that because I like history. History is such an amazing thing to me. And understanding, now a lot of people were coming at me thinking I'm saying all Mormons are crazy and Chad and Laurie are Mormons. No, I'm not saying that. I do not believe that, right? Any more than, all bartenders are drunks because they sell alcohol. I don't make those connections. I'm definitely not saying that, but understanding the connections to their devout Mormon belief system before they went crazy and the differences after they went crazy is important, I think. And I want to know that stuff. So that's why I did that video. Right now, the next video I'm working on is the history. See, it started as, is Chad a cult leader? That was the question I wanted to ask and answer. But it has evolved into, as of this point, editing today, it's about 4 hours long. So I have a lot of editing to do to get this down to something reasonable. But I'm basically covering end time cults, beginning with the Great Disappointment of 1844, which is kind of what started a lot of this as far as cases in the United States. Certainly end time cults are historic and have been around for 2,000 years. So it's not a big surprise that we have them, but covering the evolution of them in the United States from 1844 to Chad Daybell today, how we get there. And the evolution of these cults. Is Chad a narcissist? Is Laurie a narcissist? All of my thoughts on that, and trying to weave it into a narrative that's not rambling for 4 hours. I'm really good at rambling. Really good at that. What is the Church of the Firstborn? Right, the Church of the Firstborn is based on the Morrisite sect. Again, mid-1800s. All right, if you want to know how all of this religious stuff fits into what we're talking about today, you have to go back to the 1800s. All right, there was the Great Revolution, or the Great Spiritual whatever, there's a term for it, that happened in the mid-1800s when the revival of religion was happening in New England, right? New York, Connecticut, Vermont, all those areas. And this is where we get Joseph Smith, right, who founded Mormonism. This is where we get the Methodist Church, where we get the Quakers and the Shakers. All of these religions sprung up in the mid-1800s. All of them. They sprung up like, every day there was a new one happening. And this is where Joseph Smith's story comes into play. And then they all sort of kind of grew a little bit, and then they'd branch off into all of these different offshoots and sects and almost cult-like things, right? And one of them was the Millerites, who was William Miller, and he has such a fascinating story. He basically came up with one of the first in the United States end time dates. He said between March 21st and March 21st of 1843 and March 21st of 1844 would be the end times. The tribulation would be upon us. It would be the second coming, and we had to prepare for it. Right? Kind of exactly what we're hearing now from Chad and Laurie, only with different dates, right? But it didn't happen. Those days came and went. And it was like, oh, no end time for us. So he said, well, I'm going to use the Karaite calendar, this calendar, and my calculations were off. It's just really April 18th. Yeah, that's the end times. And everyone's like, woo, end times, woohoo. And that day came and went. And it was like, bollocks, still no end times for us. So then Samuel Snow picked up where William Miller kind of dropped off. And he said, okay, I've got the calendar. I'm using the Karaite calendar. I hope I'm saying that correctly. And I'm going to recalculate it. And the real end time is October 22nd, 1844. This is the real end times, folks. And they're like, finally, somebody who knows the real date of the end times. And they got very excited. And that day came and went. And that was known as the Great Disappointment, because this was big. This was people who had given up their entire lives and gone to this meeting place on this hill, and they were ready, and they had given up everything, right? And they'd just gone with their tent and their food and ready for the end times because they were sure it was going to happen. And it didn't happen. And then they had nothing to go back to. So this was called the Great Disappointment. And out of this sprung some new religions. The Seventh-day Adventists, who said, well, Jesus did come back. We just kind of missed it. But yeah, Seventh-day Adventists, woohoo, our new religion now. And then we had the Jehovah's Witness spring up out of this. And we had the Baha'i faith spring up out of this. So all of these religions that we hear of today started with the dissolution of an end-time cult that got it wrong in 1844. And here we are today, still talking about the exact same darn thing. How does this happen? Okay, this is what I understand. How does this happen in this country? Well, all over the world, actually, but specifically here, that people get this notion in their head. They believe it to the point where they give up their entire lives to prepare for it. It doesn't happen, and they believe it again. When can they learn? Yes, even the Bible says no one will know the end of times. No one will know. No one should even ask when it's going to happen. It will happen when it happens. So if you're a very religious person, you shouldn't even be looking at these dates of the end time, or let alone preparing for it in the degree where some of these people have. So it's craziness. But that is the end time cults thing that I'll be digging into very deeply for the next Patreon video. And to connect that, an event in 1844 with Chad Daybell today, and July 22nd, 2020, that's quite a feat. It takes, it's going to take me a while to get from point A to point B, but we'll get there. Maybe a timeline on this. Liz, I really want to do that. I really do. That would be a year's worth of investing time and research, and to do it properly. I don't want to just do some kind of lightweight, well, I heard this and I read this on Wikipedia. No, I want to really do something like that right. The Baha'i faith is very interesting. It is. If you're interested in comparative religions or anything like that, give them a look up. Their system of faith is fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. I don't ascribe personally to any organized religion, just to be clear, but I love studying them. So take that for what you will. I am not a godless heathen. I'm a very spiritual person, but I think my particular brand of spirituality is very private, very personal, and I don't want an organization to tell me what I have to believe, so I don't do any of that. So that's just me. But I also hold nothing against people that are religious. Faith is good. But anyway, so yeah, I'm really digging into the end time cults because there's some fascinating ones. Certainly we all have heard about Jim Jones, Heaven's Gate, David Koresh, Church Universal and Triumphant. Have you guys heard of that one? With Elizabeth Clare Prophet? Now, she's a character. So I'm working through all of these end times focused cults. And why do people fall for it? That's a question that psychology has been trying to answer for hundreds of years. And you know what? We don't really have an answer yet. So we're going to look at that. Good night, Tracy. Have a good night and take care. But Yeah, it does. It does definitely play into Chad and Laurie. Do I really think Chad and Laurie believed this end time thing? No, I don't. I think Chad was using it to sell books, to make money, to get popular, to feed his narcissism. I don't think he genuinely believes the world is going to end on the 22nd, but you know. Tell us more. Why do they do fall? Fear. But it's not just fear, Alice. Fear is what they use to hook you in, but the promise of having your fears taken care of is what keeps them. I know you're scared. The end times, the tribulations, it's going to be terrible. Everyone's going to die, but not you. You're part of the 144,000. If you come with me and you follow me, you'll be safe. You'll be taken care of. You'll be okay. Just stay with me. And people are like, oh, yeah, yeah. And so you can see how people fall for that. Especially people like Melanie Gibb, who are a little gullible, a little naive, maybe a little, frequently we see people in cults who are dealing with depression and other problems, and then the cult offers them as a solution to all their problems. All you have to do is give me all your money, promise undying loyalty to me, and do whatever I say, and I'll fix everything. What's that song by A Perfect Circle? Don't fret, precious, I'm here. Step away from the window and go back to sleep. Everything's okay. So, yeah, that's how people fall for this stuff. And Mindset Academy, I wouldn't want to survive the end time. You know what? If the tribulations are coming and all of this stuff, take me out quick. I don't want to suffer through that. I really don't. Although for a lot of years I've said that, if the second coming is just Jesus coming back to take all of his good followers and poof them away and just leave the rest of us here, that'd be good. Because you imagine the free cars and houses and stuff we can go pick from. I'd be like, I'm taking that house with that big pool. That's mine. Thank you. I'd be okay with that too. And there are times, when I say to Jesus, please come back and save me from some of your followers because they've lost the plot. Chad and Laurie have lost the plot. So many people purport to be teaching what Jesus said and what Jesus do, and they are not doing that at all. So, yeah. I'm sure Laurie has read the Bible. Obviously, that doesn't help. Laurie seems to not believe in the Bible or something. You can't do the things that they did and believe in the teachings of Christ, in my opinion. You can't, because I don't think Jesus would be very happy with them. Yep, I think he'd have something to say. Now, the whole prepper thing that Alistair brings up, the prepper thing is very, very interesting. I watched over the last week, 20, 30 different documentaries on different types of doomsday preppers. And the urge to be a prepper, it's not always spiritual. One guy believed that there was going to be a coronal mass ejection in 2013 that would destroy, it would be an EMP pulse that would destroy all the electronics in the world. Right. And so he took his swimming pool in the backyard and converted it into like a hydroponic garden. And he had tilapia growing in the bottom of the pool. So he was raising fish, and he had chickens that walked around in chicken wire, pooping into the poop water to feed the fish. And the fish would do stuff to feed the plants. And oh my God. And he spent his entire life savings and was rebuilding all this stuff in his house because he thought a coronal mass ejection was going to take out our electric infrastructure. I'm like, okay, all right, interesting. Okay, but a lot of preppers think maybe a meteor is coming, or a plague, or nuclear war, fire, destruction, earthquakes, floods, all of these other things, as well as those that believe it's because of the second coming. So not all preppers are religiously motivated, but a lot of them are. But that's an interesting topic because on one hand, I can see the logic in this. If I had a couple $1 million, I would probably have a giant ranch where I could grow all the vegetables I wanted. I'd have some livestock, some cows, some chickens, so I can have eggs and beef and milk. And I would want to do that. A nice big pond where I could stock the fish, and so you can have kind of a self-sustaining place for yourself if anything happened. I don't think that's too unreasonable. I really don't. But having this, 4 or 5 years worth of food stocked away in a bunker underground, and mortgaging your house so you can buy solar panels and AR-15s to defend your property from the invading hordes when the world blows up and you're the only one left with food. And it gets to a psychological place where it's very unhealthy. You really kind of have to balance. Although I will say, like, yeah, buddy just said, I feel like I'm becoming a prepper with COVID. Me too. Back in early February, and you could check back in Discord and you can see this. I said, you know what? I'm going to go stock up on a month's worth of food and supplies. And people told me I was being silly. Eamon, you're being, relax. It's just the flu. I said, nah, I see the writing on the wall. I'm going to start stocking up, Renee, thank you so much. She says, thank you for your thoughtful insights and investigation into the case. Join your Patreon this week. Too interesting and historical info on there. Thank you so much. Thank you. I really appreciate that. But Jess says, yeah, Eamon did. So I saw the writing on the wall with COVID in February, and I said, you know what? If things get really bad, I want to be able to lock the door of my apartment for a solid month and not have to open it for anything. So I had medical supplies, I had food, I had toiletries. We spent at least $1,000 buying everything. And we did it before everyone went crazy and started buying everything. So I was like very proud of myself for this, but people told me I was being silly. But you know what? It worked. It worked. I was on keto. Right? I'm doing the keto diet, and I only have the freezer in my fridge. You try to put a month's worth of meat in that little freezer. That was not easy. Let me tell you what, but I did it. So yeah, sometimes prepping actually is not the worst thing in the world. I don't think that's an unhealthy thing. I think it can very easily go to some unhealthy levels. Very easily, because it's a psychological trap that you find yourself in, So yeah, it can get to extremes. But, there's something smart about having a month or 2 week worth of food in your house, at least some basics, so if things get really bad, you can survive for a couple weeks till, things get sorted or whatever. But yeah, having prepping and having a little extra is not a bad idea. All right. But look at that in relation to Chad and Laurie. They believe the tribulations were coming on the 22nd, which isn't really the end of the world as such. But they're not doing any prepping. They don't have months worth of food stores lying around somewhere. They didn't build underground bunkers. They're just, knocking people off for their life insurance money. How is that prepping? Even Jesus himself said it's easier for a rich man to get through the eye of a needle than it is to get into heaven. What do they need all that money for? I don't think they really believed in the end of times as such, because they would have been prepping, but they were not. So, and then if we look at the Avow forums, you guys know I love talking about Avow. I'm gonna draw their attention. I'm gonna regret that. But yes, I've seen so many comments on Facebook groups and the Reddit saying there's a YouTuber who signed up for the Avow forums, and I'm like, yeah, that's me. Hi. But yeah, I have been reading the Avow forums like crazy because they are fascinating. If you want to look at the psychology of preppers, you need to be on that forum and you need to read it. And you know what? I don't disagree with them 100%. And that's terrifying to say, because they are very much into, this is how you purify water. If you need a clean water source, you can't just boil it. You have to do it this way. Here's how to build a distiller. Here's how to do this. I'm like, oh, that's really useful information. I got to bookmark that. But then they take it to extremes, of course, with all the religious stuff and, on and on and on. But Avow as preppers, that's their focus. And Laurie and Chad and David Warwick and Melanie and Julie Rowe, they're all intertwined with the people from Avow. Avow is also linked to Preparing a People, Mike and Nancy James. It's all one big group. So we can't think that this cult thing ends with Chad and Laurie, because it absolutely does not. And that's one thing I've learned from Avow, is this is a much bigger problem than just Chad and Laurie. Now, do all the people on Avow believe in zombies? I don't think so. No one else has said they do, but Alistair, that's a good question. I have been taking little courses here and there online through several different schools for about 4 years now. And I'm not doing it as like a full-time program, because I wouldn't be here on YouTube if I was doing that. So I take a course or two every semester or so. I've taken the last couple off because I did a lot of work with Paul. We were doing a true crime podcast, and I was on his YouTube with a lot, and I really focused on that for a while. Now I'm focusing on this, but I do need to get back to it. I'm doing it for fun. I don't see myself having a career as an astrophysicist in my lifetime. I'm 48 years old. It's a little late for that, but someday I want to be able to say I have a PhD in astrophysics, just because I want one. So that's what I'm working towards. It may take me 20 more years, but I will get there. That's my goal. Well, but yeah, I'm a hobby astrophysicist. Yeah, it's good to learn. It's good. I like learning, so that's why I like something like that. Never stop learning. Yep, Brian May. I'm aware of him. My favorite, Neil deGrasse Tyson, because he has a tongue on him. He is not afraid to cut loose and say what he thinks. Whew, I like that. It's fun. Oh, but yeah, my knowledge of astrophysics lets me know that energized poison spirit weapons are not really a thing. They're not. Sorry, Chad and Laurie. Oh, unfortunately, they don't listen. They don't study astrophysics. Clearly, they believe they can teleport. And the whole teleport thing. Melanie Gibb, in her first interview with Nate, tried to play that off like, oh, he doesn't mean literally teleport. It's just like a sacred spot where they can feel each other's energy and reach out like that. That's all it is. No, Melanie, nice try. Chad says that he thought he could literally teleport physical objects and beings through his portal. So Melanie keeps trying to downplay it all and try to make it sound more logical. But she's just playing a game. She is playing a game, and we see through it, and I can't get over it. I cannot let that go and just let her spew this stuff with impunity, because she's lying. And she changed her story about, Nate asked her, well, Laurie said she lived on 21 different planets and Chad lived on 31. In her first interview, she said, oh, no, I wouldn't say planets, just lives. They've had that many lives. But in her interview Monday, she said, yeah, they've each lived, 4 or 5 lives on this planet, and the rest were on other Earths elsewhere in the universe. I'm like, well, other Earths? There's no such thing as other Earths, you dummy. Maybe you should study astrophysics. So, yeah. I don't have an occupation, Liz. I don't. I am, when my son was born, I have an autistic son. I decided that I was going to be a stay-at-home mom and take care of him, and I have a daughter as well. And they both still live with me, and I am just a mom. So that's why I have a lot of time to study, because I just wanted to study. If I had millions of dollars, I would have been a career university student, and I would have PhDs in everything. But I don't have that kind of money. That's expensive. So, do you think she's part of it? Do you think she'll get? Do I think Melanie Gibb is part of it? Absolutely. I think she believed everything that they said. I think she believed it just as fervently as they do. And I think she's trying to distance herself from it now, trying to say things like, well, I thought it was strange. Nah, I don't buy that. She's another author like they do. She has a book called Feel the Fire. She has her Feel the Fire podcast. She's just as deep in it as, as they are. I know I should not have said just a mom. I'm sorry. There's no such thing as just a mom. That's one of the biggest, most important jobs you could ever do. But I I guess I've fallen into that trap where people say, "What do you do for a living?" I say, "Oh, I'm a mom." They're like, "Oh, just a mom? Maybe you should try a real job." I'm like, I won't say bad words, but yeah, I've fallen into that mindset, and that is not true because my children are awesome. But I think Melanie G is in the process of being brainwashed. Liz, I agree. I don't think she's woken up yet because we see too much purposeful distancing language in her interviews. We see too much prevarication, too much rationalizing to the point where she hasn't quite owned it yet. I hope she will someday, and I hope she'll get some good therapy, exit counseling, that kind of thing. We'll see. Hi from Alaska. Hi, Drowsy. How you doing? So, yeah, Liz, I hope she'll wake up. I do. Did Melanie leave her kids? Melanie is not with her children. She has 3, possibly 4 children with her ex-husband, and they live with him, not her. And last report is they are estranged. So that's what that is. Now, Melanie P also is not with her children. Her children are with Brandon, and they're currently undergoing a pretty nasty custody battle. And their next hearing for that is July 1st. So we'll see what happens with that. Yes, I think she's still brainwashed. I think now she's just realized, mindset. Right now she's trying to cover herself and make herself look like not the crazy cult member. But reading between her words, listening to what she doesn't say more than what she does say tells us that she's still very, very much in it. And she got a lot to do. Yeah, Melanie. And interestingly, I found also on the Avow website that David Warwick was giving one of these talks at Preparing a People in June or July. I have to look at the form again, in 2019. And that could have been where he met Melanie. I don't know the exact day where they met. They don't talk about it. But, the scene of her walking around the sun. Jessica. Paul and I talked about that in our live, and he talked about it tonight. That when they do the cut scene of Melanie walking through the vineyard, strolling by the trees, or sitting at the table with her hand on her head on her chin, looking all pensive and deep, that was too much. That was just too much. So fake, so contrived. Oh, goodness. I think Melanie P was set up with Ian. Yes, he or she, one of them said they met on a dating app, or they both said that. I don't believe that. I think it was a setup. So, but I have no evidence to that. I have no reason to think that. I just think that. Where did you find the Gibbs? Yeah, I don't have Melanie Gibbs divorce papers anywhere either. I would like to see those, but I'll have to see. But she is no longer with her ex. Whether they're divorced yet or not, I don't know. But there is a man with her children living somewhere else, not with her. And she is with David Warwick. Yeah, Jason Mao. That guy. I don't know what to tell you about that guy. Other than Jason Mao is scary. When you think about preppers, and you think about the preppers that have all the weaponry and are all about, I'll kill everyone so I can protect my family type thing. And they're very, very militant. That's Jason Mao. So he's scary. His podcast is called Warrior Up. And he's all about becoming a warrior for Christ. I'm like, what did Jesus say about that? Didn't he say, why are you obsessed with fighting? Stick to fishing from now on. Now, yes, I quote Jesus Christ Superstar, okay? I'm sorry. May not be the most scripturally accurate thing, but that comes to mind. You have to understand, me and Jesus Christ Superstar, I have the entire show memorized front to back. So you'll hear me quote it a lot. Hi, Kelly Bell. How are you doing? Yeah, Jason Mao, he's an ex-cop. He's ex-military. He's he's a scary dude. That's why I do not have any videos of him or his name in anything on my channel because I do not want his attention. Jason Mao, if you're listening to this, please just pass on by, dude. You go do you. I'll leave you alone. You leave me alone. We're good. Oh. Isn't that the art of drawing people in by mixing real and truth? All the deep stuff is secret based on their loyalty, just like a narc. Absolutely. And it's always the leader has special access to all of the truth. You know? Yes, Jason Mao is LDS. Well, no. He calls himself a Mormon. The Mormons say he's not. He's an extremist weirdo person. So, you know, take that for what you will. He is not. Hey, I don't think he would be a member in good standing in the temple if they knew everything he was up to. So he's definitely one of them. There's a crap ton of narc going on. Yes, there is. Oh, what I was saying about the narcissist. When you're looking at cult leaders, almost always they fit into the category of narcissists. Almost always. And one of the biggest hallmarks of that we see with Chad, the cult leader narcissist has special access to knowledge and truth that only they can get. All right, and all of the other members seek to strive to elevate themselves to that level, but they never quite get there. You know, and we see that with Chad. I was anointed a Melchizedek priest by Paul, John, and James through the veil. Excuse me? Really? That's not how the church works, Chad. And even that, as opposed to the whole sealing that he and Laurie did, that's also blasphemous. You can't do that. You can't just, do that. But he portrays himself as having access to this information from beyond the veil that nobody else has. So they have to listen to him. They certainly can't disprove it. It's not like you can call 1-800-DIAL-A-VEIL and ask, hey, did you guys do this for Chad? And they'll say, yeah, it's cool. You can't do that. So nobody can disprove him. And if they question him, they're immediately labeled as a dark spirit. And you know what that means. If they're a dark spirit, they're a zombie, and they got to go. So questioning Chad's teachings is a dangerous business. And that's what a narcissist cult leader does. They make it known from very early on that questioning me will have consequences for you, so you better think twice. So was Jason Mao at the scene of Charles Vallow's murder? I don't know. I would not be the least bit surprised, but we do not see him on any of the body cam. That doesn't mean he wasn't there and split before the cops got there. He could have been, but I don't have any actual factual knowledge about that. But I would not be the least bit surprised if he was. I also would not be the least bit surprised to find out that he was with Alex the day that Brandon Boudreaux was shot. So we're just going to have to wait and see. They can work with a veil, but tarot is witchcraft. Yeah, Deborah, that's a topic that you will see me stay very, very far away from for a lot of reasons. But yeah, I have some pretty strong opinions about that too. We'll leave that as where it is for now. Leaving a veil open enough to see too much sounds like indecent exposure. Yeah. Close your curtains, folks. Oh, goodness. They all seem to blame other people around them and or evil forces. Personal responsibility. OE, that is so true. Even in Melanie Gibb's letter that she posted on Avow, I was deceived by the great adversary. It was Satan. It's not my fault. I was being tested by the adversary. She never just owns up and says, you know what? I was dumb. And I did something really stupid, and I feel terribly ashamed, and I want to do what I can to make it right by coming clean and telling the whole truth. She's not doing that at all. She's making herself out to be the victim. She is blaming it on everyone but her. It's Chad's fault. It's Laurie's fault. It's Satan's fault. It's the great adversary. It's not me. I try to do good. I'm the being of light. Yeah, no, dummy, but this is one of my biggest problems with groups like these is the avoidance of personal responsibility. It's so easy to blame everything wrong in your life on the adversary than to stand up and say, I really screwed up and I got to fix this. It's humbling to do that. It's hard to do that. It doesn't feel good at first to do that. It feels good after you do that. And you're like, yeah, I really fixed that. I came clean. I ate my humble pie and everything's fine. You have a lot more credibility as a person if you do that than blaming everything on the adversary. But they don't get that. They really don't. Let's see. I had a thought. What if Emma is writing all our YouTube names on their secret documents? Probably, you know. Emma is not a very happy person. All right, she will. That's an interesting topic to bring up, and let's go there. Why not? The LDS teachings seriously are fundamentally creating these brainwashed, higher consciousness, special Christian soldiers. That's what they are taught. All right, that's a firework comment for sure. I'll start by saying every religion has its extremists, its cults, its offshoots, its crazy people that take the core beliefs of that system and turn it into something much different. Mormonism, the LDS Church, seems to have a little more than their fair share of that. And that's something that I'm saying from a perspective of objectivity, not judgment. All right. My mother was in the Mormon Church for a lot of years, and she will say to this day, they were the nicest people she has ever met in her life. Right. And not all Mormons do that, but a considerable number do. And it's important to ask, why is this happening? And what can the church do to try and stop it? Should they do something? Is it their responsibility to rein in the more crazier belief systems that spring up as a result of their teachings? What in their teachings is promoting this or allowing it to happen so easily? That would be a conversation I would like the church to have. Do I think it'll happen? No, I don't. The Mormon Church has been under fire since its inception, right? This church has battled every day of its existence, right? When they were moving from where Joseph Smith was to Nauvoo, the city that they built in Illinois, and Joseph Smith was murdered in Carthage while he was in jail awaiting court for treason because of his beliefs. The church has been under fire since day one, and it hasn't stopped being under fire yet. And then you get things like Warren Jeffs, and you get Chad and Laurie Daybell, and all of this that unfortunately reflects even worse on the church, even though these people are offshoots and cults that are not recognized by the church. They reflect on the Mormon Church, and that's terrible. And I can understand the frustration of church leaders in that. But at the same time, I don't see church leaders taking responsibility in saying we need to examine our doctrine and our teachings that enable this sort of crazy behavior so this stops happening. So that's what I think about that. I wish that they would take a more active role in preventing this sort of thing, but it happens. Yeah, there's Jessica says most of her family is Mormon, and they're very sweet people, but there's some creepiness to it, and they ignore a lot. There is that. When you look at the story of Joseph Smith and how Mormonism came to be, that's not the most logical, rational of things right there. So, you have to kind of overlook a lot. So I would like to see the church maybe restructure their doctrine to bring out the best of their teachings and sort of subdue a little bit of the crazy stuff. That would be great. But then again, I'm a very secularly focused person, so that could be blasphemy what I just said. Who knows? I apologize if it was. I'm not getting at the Mormon Church. Please don't take it that way. Oh. Watch Dark Outpost series with David Zublik every Thursday. with satanic ritual abuse survivor. Ooh, yeah, that's not something I want to watch. I mean, I can see the interest in that and the learning experience that would be, but ooh, no. Did it ever occur to anyone that Emma Smith was Joseph Smith's favorite wife? Emma Daybell married a Joseph with the middle name Hiram, who is also Joseph Smith's brother's name. Yeah, Joseph and Hiram Smith. I didn't know she was married, that Joseph was Joseph Hiram Murray. Their last name is Murray. Huh, interesting. Very interesting. Did we ever decide if Chad and Laurie are legally married? No, Felicia, we still don't really know that. And I would like to know the answer to that question. Are they legally married or not? I don't know. And here comes my wonderful husband, who is so great, he's going to go grab me a soda because my cup is empty.
Oh, the news.
Yes, there is a Sherlock Holmes story about Mormonism. It is very interesting. Definitely worth a read. But it means, though, that tiny bones here and there in pieces. No, Becky, that's not what it means. It does not mean dismembered. It means, all right, let's talk about that for a second. There's more than one explanation for scattered bones than dismemberment. We do know that there were charred bones. That's in the affidavit. We know there was charred flesh, and we know that they were not articulated. The skeleton was not intact. Okay, that's what we know. Now, what does that mean? If you burn a body, right, to the point where the bones become charred, that means the bones are directly exposed to the fire because the flesh has been burned away. Okay. The only thing holding your bones together is tendons, muscles, skin. If all that's burned away, of course, the bones are not going to be held together. There's nothing left to hold them together. Therefore, you have a disarticulated skeleton. Now, we also know that the body was not completely incinerated. They found charred flesh and flesh attached to bones, that kind of stuff. So her body was not burnt to the point where it's ash and a few bones. We know that. But if it was burned enough so that some of the bones would be loose, that happens if the body's burned. That does not mean that the body was dismembered. They found tissue. They did not find tissue over the entire skeleton, or they would not have found charred bones. Okay? If there's tissue on the outside of your bones, the bones will not be charred. The tissue will be. So there were different temperatures, exactly. Some of the body parts may have been completely incinerated, some weren't, so on and so forth. So, it's almost clear that there was some dismembering going on. Wait, what is this? Oh, the first story featuring iconic detective Sherlock Holmes, A Study in Scarlet, was published this day in 1887, set in Mormon, Utah. Yeah. My husband just Googled that for me. Thank you. All right, so it's certainly a logical thing to think that she was dismembered. It is. It's also possible that she was not. And as long as there are possible multiple scenarios, because law enforcement, there's no official document that say that she was dismembered, we cannot say that she was. Okay, not definitively. We can say it sounds like she might have been dismembered. It's possible, but nothing in the official document says that. And that's the only sticking point. I'm not saying she absolutely was not. I'm saying for a reporter, an actual news reporter, to come out and say Tylee was dismembered without the evidence to back that up is very irresponsible. So either Nate heard it from somebody in the family, he heard it from law enforcement, he got some insider information and he let it slip, or he's just drawing that inference from what it says in the affidavit. That's fine, and I get that, and I may even agree, but it certainly doesn't say that. That's all. So that's all I'm saying. And she will says, don't worry, God loves us all, and there's no one true religion. Questioning and voicing your concern is not blasphemy. Good. I'm glad you feel that way, because I don't think I'm being blasphemous. I'm not trying to disparage anything. I'm just saying, hey, that doesn't make sense to me, or hey, that's not the most logical thing. So, but a lot of people take it the wrong way. Yeah, I understand that. I do. I wonder if they will look for the instrument. Oh, Sharon, we don't know that there was an instrument used to dismember Tylee. If there was, I'm sure they will look for it. But we still don't know that happened. Man, Nate, I keep telling Nate, you need to come on my live stream and you need to explain yourself. Because, boy, have you set off a firestorm with that word. I think that was the most irresponsible thing ever to have said that. Because it's not in any document. It's really not. So, we're certainly going to find out someday, and it's going to be terrible and shocking and horrifying. But until we find out, we can't say it as fact. I'm sure they understand if their hearts are in the right place. Yeah, that is true. Have any of you listened to Donna Serafina? No. Nope. I could go into another long rant about that. I'm not sure that would make me the most popular person in the world. But as far as my coverage of this case, I will not be engaging the use of psychics. However, I say that also being someone who reads tarot. But I don't do it as a future telling or divination thing. I do what's called pathworking readings to help people navigate the psychological obstacles in their life and get themselves to a better place. That is not fortune telling. I'm not a medium. I'm not a psychic, nothing like that. But I also don't do psychic stuff as far as true crime cases. That's all. Yes, Cherie, that's exactly what I mean. Dismembering is an act done to separate the bones, not bones being loosened by fire. So we don't have the distinction whether there was a purposeful dismemberment or the bones are loose because of the fire. They will be able to tell. There will be, have you ever watched the TV show Bones? I know that's not real, but they'll be able to tell. There will be indications on the remains to let them know if there was a purposeful dismemberment. That's all. So if there is, we will know. Until an official source says so or a family member says so, it's speculation. So that's all. It was a Bud Light opening. No, it was the Diet Coke. I'm sorry. I forget that I do that right next to the microphone. That's probably really loud for you guys. I apologize for that. I should have moved it away or something. But yeah, I don't drink alcohol. Maybe twice a year, like on New Year's Eve, we always have some champagne, and maybe once or twice during the summer, I'll have one of my favorite drinks is what is it called? A kamikaze. I love kamikaze shots. We'll make those once in a while. But that's it. I don't handle alcohol. I am half a beer and I feel woozy kind of girl. So, yeah, I don't like that feeling and I can't handle it. So it's not worth buying because we end up throwing most of it out. Jess says it takes a certain kind of person to dismember a victim, especially a child. Although they seem crazy, but that's a whole new level. It is a whole new. It's a level, Jess. I can't even begin to get into that mindset. Like when we talk about true crime cases, I can get in the mindset of maybe a bank robber or, all kinds of crimes, but not like a dismemberment level murder. I can't. My brain cannot even begin to go there to try and figure out what's going through somebody's head. That is a level of crazy that I'm glad I don't understand. I'm glad I don't get that. Because I think if you do get it, then you should probably talk to someone. Manuela says the help of a good psychologist is what people need if they want to work on their past with the intention of improving their present and future. No hocus pocus. Yep, I agree with that. To an extent. I do some very successful path working, but it's based on psychology, not hocus pocus as such. So, yeah. I have runes. I read runes too, Alistair. I have a set that my mom gave me. They're really cool. See, one thing. All right, might as well get into this. Why not? I was raised by a woman who has a thirst for knowledge that is never ending. Right, my mother still to this day. She is 86 years old, and she is studying. Right now, she's studying nuclear chemistry. Okay, this is my 86-year-old mom. She has a collection of rocks and minerals, and even she has hot boxes where she stores her radioactive minerals, and she has Geiger counters and all this stuff. And this is my mom, right? This is the woman I was raised by. But as far as her quest for scientific knowledge, she had an equal desire and passion for spiritual knowledge, and she has studied every religion she ever came across to understand belief system and understand how they're all connected and how they're all different and what all the sources are. And so I grew up with everything around the house. There would be a cross on one wall, a crucifix on another wall, a box of I Ching coins over here, and tarot cards over there. Everything, and incredible. Anything and everything you could think of related to any school of spirituality was around the house. Every room in our house was lined with bookcases full of books. And I just grew up with all the stuff around me and assumed it was normal. It wasn't until I got to be an adult and out and about in the world that, like, what do you mean you never heard of an I Ching coin? You're weird. Didn't your mother teach you anything? What do you mean you've never seen a tarot deck before? What's wrong with you? I didn't realize it was different. So I grew up questioning everything, learning everything, and, exploring everything. I don't see that as a bad thing. Some people say, oh, tarot cards are devil worship. What? No, they're not. Don't be ridiculous. It's really not. It's a deck of cards with pictures on it. They're not inherently good, bad, or otherwise. It's a deck of cards. Okay. And I use that as a tool in the pathworking work that I do. Do I sit here and do readings? People say you're going to meet a guy in a blue car on the 4th day of June, and he's going to have blonde hair and have lots of... No, I don't do that. Some people do. Not me. I don't do that. But, energy work. I am a Reiki master. I am a fully licensed Reiki practitioner. All right. And that's energy work. Okay. That's what the Avow people decry as devil worshipping, but that's what Julie Rowe seems to be. She likes to do energy work. I don't think she's a Reiki practitioner, but she says some kind of weird energy work stuff. I don't know. But, it doesn't mean that I'm a devil worshiper. I don't believe in that religion that has a devil in it. So, but I kind of look at all this stuff and I'm like, what are you guys talking about? What's going on? What? Okay. I just kind of have to walk away and be like, all right. That's just not my experience. I'd like to learn stuff. And when I learned that there's these tarot cards and each one has its own meaning and a history and symbology, it's like, I love symbology and iconography. I love to learn about that stuff. Like the Dan Brown books, fascinating. And yes, they're fiction, but there are some kernels of truth in there. And symbology is another area of fascination with me. So, of course, the tarot decks were very interesting. Do I believe that a tarot deck is going to tell you your future? Nah, not exactly. No, I don't. So I am the most skeptical spiritualist you will ever find. So it's kind of a very interesting mix, like ghost hunting. I lived in Salem, Massachusetts for years, and we did ghost hunting before it was a thing. Now, this is long before the Ghost Hunters TV show and all. This was back in the early 90s. I loved ghost hunting. Do I believe in ghosts? Yeah, because I've seen some stuff that scared me and made me pee my pants, that I could not explain. And even with my scientific background, I cannot explain the things I saw. So, yeah, it's possible it's a ghost, or who knows, group hallucination. I don't know. But it fascinates me. That doesn't mean that I'm a devil worshiper, because I think ghosts are fascinating. I don't know. I question. That's what I do. I question everything. And I love to question everything, because the more you question, the more you learn. The more you learn, the more you realize you still need to learn. And that's a very hard lesson to learn, because, I may learn all this stuff about astrophysics, but then I'm like, but if that's true, then what does this mean? And then you're like, oh, that's another 4 years of school to learn that. Like, yeah, okay. It's like it never stops. And that's fun. And that's why I like true crime cases. And that's why I will not sit here and tell you that Tylee's body was dismembered, because you know what? I cannot prove it to you. There's no evidence to say that. So there you go. I will not tell you stuff that I don't think is true yet. So, oh, Renee, thank you so much. Being an astrophysicist makes sense. It's a thing. And you know what started it? Here's a story. Since we're telling story time, my husband, expat Mara, kind of a nuclear physicist in England, worked at the nuclear power plant, sworn to state secrets. So I don't know if I can tell. Do they have to kill me now because I told them that, honey? I hope not. Anyway, when Fukushima happened, y'all remember that? The Japanese power plant that got flooded, and then all of the nuclear waste got out into the world. I got fascinated. I'm like, oh, I want to know how this works. Explain to me how this could have happened, because he knows. And so he would explain to me. And he told me all those years ago, he said, well, a nuclear power plant, all it does is boil water. And I'm like, wait, what? All of this nuclear energy and danger and all this is just so they can boil water? And he was like, well, yeah, what did you think it did? I said, I don't know. I thought it was some kind of magic nuclear radiation energy proton beam something or other. I don't know what it did. So when I learned that, I was gobsmacked that all of this danger is just to boil water. And so that started me off on nuclear physics. I said, all right, I'm going to learn everything I can. And I learned everything I could about nuclear physics, as far as I could go with just basic internet stuff. I say, you know what, I need to take courses in this. Absolutely. I need to understand it on a very fundamental level. So I spent a very long time doing that. And then I said, you know what? This is all great and fascinating. And looking at the micro universe is great. But I want to look at the macro universe. Now I have more questions. So that led me to astrophysics. I saw the newer one, the newer Chernobyl documentary. Yes, I did. That was absolutely words. It was fascinating. The science was a little bit off, but it was one of the most accurate portrayals of what actually happened inside that reactor that we have ever seen. It was also one of the most factual portrayals of what happened in the aftermath, as far as the hearings and all of that we've ever seen. So it was very, very good. It's certainly one of the best out there. It's not 100% on point with the science or the politics of it, but I loved every second of that documentary. That was great. Gary, Google is a wonderful thing for any question you have. Gary, I was just saying to someone the other day, I was a child in the 70s. If you had told me back then, someday I'm going to have this little, 2x4-inch piece of plastic in my pocket that can answer any question I have in the universe just by asking it, I would never, ever have believed you. They didn't even have that on the Jetsons. Okay. So, Google, the internet just amazes me. I don't fail to appreciate how amazing the internet is. And like crocheting, I wanted to learn how to crochet because my grandmother tried to teach me when I was little and I hated it. So you know what? I turned on YouTube, and don't you know, I crochet Afghans and stuff all the time now. I am an expert crocheter, and I learned on the internet. That's amazing. It's like if you're thirsty for knowledge, the internet is your dream come true. So that's what I do with the internet. What is an EMP? An electromagnetic pulse. Basically, it's a pulse of energy that will disrupt electronics. It disrupts the flow of electrons and causes all kinds of stuff. Do we have something that can generate an EMP? I believe we do. I believe the Army through DARPA has developed EMP weapons. I don't think they have been brought into use yet, I hope, We would know if they did. An electromagnetic pulse can be caused, well, not a pulse, but electromagnetic disruptions can be caused by solar winds and coronal mass ejections and things like that, So that's what an EMP is. Do I wish I had a small local EMP type gun that when my neighbors play their stereo, I can just aim it through the ceiling and it would destroy their stereo? Yeah, I wish I did. But the amount of, and I asked my husband to make me one. He said the amount of energy required to do that would probably blow out, the entire town. So, we can't. We don't have enough energy to make a little EMP gun to turn off stereos. Would be nice. Would be nice. Alistair, you can find how to perform neurosurgery on YouTube, because a lot of medical schools actually will post videos of their tutorial surgeries on YouTube, and I have watched a lot of them. I remember that show that used to be on the Learning Channel back when it was about learning and not about Honey Boo Boo. They used to have a TV show called The Surgery, and I used to watch that and like, wow, look at that. That's somebody's spleen. How cool is that? Yeah, I love that. Usually if I have something like that on, that's when my husband will run out of the room, calling me a crazy person. He will not let me practice my surgical skills on him. I don't know why. I'm very good at learning. I just want to practice a little surgery, but he won't let me. So there's that. Manuela says she comes from a Roman Catholic family with a priest and nun in our midst. Favorite discussion with my uncle, the priest, was about creation evolution. I always saw both. My uncle loved it. Interesting. Yeah, that could cause, I could see how that could spark a debate. A pretty raucous one, too. I've learned more from the internet than I ever learned at school. Felicia, so true. So true. I have learned so much more from, even just from YouTube, let alone, scholastic articles and stuff, than I ever did in school. Can you explain why Chad Daybell doesn't move his arms when he walks? I don't know. I haven't actually noticed that. I'm going to have to watch some videos of him walking now. That's curious. Huh. I wonder if there is a physiological reason or a psychological reason for that. Huh. See, something new to look up. This is why I love the internet, because you can look that up and find out. He's a penguin. He's a potato on a penguin body. Oh, Drowsy Dawson. I love the 70s. Groovy, far out. Sock it to me one more time. Yeah. No, expat Mara. Putin doesn't move his arm. He when you look at Putin walk, he has one arm that stays still. That is the arm above his weapon. It is very obvious if you watch Putin walk around that he is packing heat, and that's why that arm does not swing. That's my theory, anyway. I don't know if I can even say that. Can you say that in public? I think the leader of Russia is carrying a weapon. I don't know. Maybe not. Probably shouldn't have said that. This is why lives are fun, because I say all kinds of stuff. I'm going to get in trouble. No doubt. Can you explain? I can explain why the women fall for him. I can. Absolutely. Chad, when we talk about narcissists and we talk about cult leaders, they're not exclusive. They're not very different. And a narcissist will use the same tactics to rein in their victims that a cult leader will to get members in their cult. A narcissist has a way of pinpointing your hopes and dreams, your thoughts and beliefs, what's important to you and what scares you, and playing on that to rope you in. They are like chameleons. They will mirror everything you want and believe to make you think they're your soulmate. Oh, they understand me. Nobody knows me better than them. Oh, did I just freeze? There we go. I thought it froze. They will do that, and they're very, very good at it. So they can look like potatoes and still get the beautiful women, because they will play on somebody who is vulnerable to that. And Laurie was vulnerable. Laurie did not have the easiest of lives. Okay, I'm not making excuses for her, but she was in the right mindset to be vulnerable to somebody like Chad. Now, I also think Laurie on her own has her own set of narcissistic issues. All right. So I'm not saying, oh, she's a victim of Chad. No, 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 no. But she certainly was vulnerable to Chad's manipulations. And I think Chad was vulnerable to hers too. So we don't often see two narcissists get together because normally they will eat each other for dinner. So it's very interesting to see the dynamic between these two. You know, it's very. What is Laurie's? But we don't know a whole lot about Laurie's background. Her family, the Cox family, has had some issues. Yeah, I think I would rather do a whole lot more research and to separate rumor from fact before I talk about that. But she didn't have a very great life. And we'd hear from Colby talking about the different men that Laurie went through and the problems that they had and the strangeness in those relationships and things. Enough to know that Laurie was not a very well balanced, stable person. She did have some problems. So I'm sure we're going to hear a whole lot more about her psychology and her life as this goes to trial. The whole horrific Laurie Chad mess is really a topic amongst a lot of people on religion, spirituality, mental illness. They draw people in who are fragile, looking for direction and leadership. Yep. And that's the interesting part of this case, is it does cover religion, it covers spirituality, it covers mental illness, and how it's a perfect storm of all of those things together. And this is what can happen as a result of it. So, Alistair, the human magnet is usually narc and codependent. Absolutely. If you listen to my series on toxic bliss, I talk about my relationship with a malignant narcissist and how I have said, to much consternation of listeners, that narcissism and codependency are different sides of the same coin. And I know a lot of people don't like hearing that, but a codependent who is in the thrall of a narcissist will do and say things that they could never normally do in a normal situation. They'll behave in ways that are absolutely atrocious in order to maintain that relationship. And it's hard to say, yeah, I was a victim of a narcissist, but I did some really shitty things because I had to maintain this relationship. And we do see some elements of that at play in a lot of these true crime cases. But normally you find a narc, you find a codependent, and that's how they get along, so to speak. But in this case, it's almost like they're both narcissists and they're both codependents with each other. It's a very interesting dynamic between the two of them. So, yep, Alistair, definitely listen to Toxic Bliss. I think you'll be able to relate. I had to deal with my codependency after that relationship through many, many years, over a decade of healing and therapy and growth. And oof, it was not fun. But yeah, I always say the narcissist will do anything to get you into the relationship. The codependent will do anything to keep that relationship. And it can get really ugly. Yeah, it is an ugly thing. Yeah, when I was in the thrall of my narcissist, I did some pretty crappy things. I lied to friends and family. I would be manipulative and stuff like that because I had to maintain that relationship above everything else. You feel like you cannot live without that relationship. And it's hard. It's hard to come to terms with that afterwards because you have to make a lot of apologies and you really have to atone for it. So, yeah, that's that. Well, I just found out you can set up a video chat with Laurie if you... Oh, Gulf Coast girl. Oh, wow. Can you imagine if we could set up a video chat with Laurie and do a live stream of it? I would pay 15 cents a minute. I would pay $15 a minute to do that. Huh. That would be fun. I don't know how long she'd talk to me, but I would certainly want to try. Oh, we don't need a GoFundMe. I'll do it right now. Okay, let's do it. The thing is getting her to accept it. If she would accept it, I would do it. That would be bad. That actually goes against my philosophy that you should report on the case but not become involved in the case. If I interview Laurie, I'm going to become involved in the case. But I would really want to do that. Felicia, it does not say that. It does not say that exactly. You can read it that way, or you can read it that they removed the remaining soil around the round object and discovered the body wrapped in black plastic. They did not say specifically it was not attached. So that's a matter of linguistics and semantics that is unclear in the affidavit. So that's my position on JJ. And that's why I have such a problem with the affidavit, because you can read it either way, and it makes perfect sense both ways. So until they clarify that, we have to say we're not sure, but it sounds like it could be this or it could be that. So, and the reason that I'm being such whatever you want to call me about those 2 points is the family. The family, they're on Facebook. The family's watching YouTubes. The family is paying attention to the news. They don't need to see that in the news if it's not true. Right? So that's why I won't come out and say that unless we know absolutely for sure that that's what happened. They don't need to see that. So that's a hard thing. But yes, I've thought about it a lot. I've talked about it a lot privately with people, and I've poured over that section of the affidavit. Literally, I read it 100 times the other day, trying to see if I could find one word in those 3 paragraphs that would definitively say one way or the other, and it just doesn't. So, and I'd like to talk to Ron Ball and be like, did you write that purposefully so we couldn't tell 100%? Did you choose your words that carefully, or did you choose your words so poorly that it made it unclear? Not sure which one of those is true. Court TV has been hammering on the dismembered body. Yes, they have been. Court TV. I actually had to talk with my mom today about Court TV. She's like, that Vinny Politano is kind of losing his credibility. And I'm like, what do you mean, Mom? And she said, he's just kind of going all over theory land, and he's not really reporting just the facts. I'm like, yeah, you got that too? She's like, yeah, what happened to him? I'm like, there you go. If that's coming from my mom, there you go. That's the gospel truth. Court TV is becoming a little sensationalistic, and I'm very uncomfortable with that. So I don't know what's going on over there, other than this is a hugely popular case, and people like us, we want to sit and speculate. They're just doing it on national TV. I don't think that's such a good idea, but whatever. I don't think Laurie would get paid for the video chat. Yeah, I think that's the cost to make the chat with her. I don't think she gets that money. It's just the cost for the service. People that have encounters with narcs also tend to adopt some sort of their traits. Narc fleas. Yeah, Jessica, I think because when you're with a narcissist, and if you're in a codependent state, you learn from them. You learn how to manipulate others. You learn how to coerce behavior, because you kind of have to keep the relationship going. So you kind of learn how to do it. And there would be times I would sit with my therapist and be like, am I a narcissist? I'm worried that I may have narcissistic traits. And he's like, if you're worried about it and you're asking about it and you're asking me if I think you are, then you're clearly not. He's like, it's okay. Relax. We'll work through it. So, yeah, it definitely leaves that kind of impact on you. I wonder if Chad is sending his bride a birthday card from jail. He better not be. He's not allowed to. He's not supposed to be having contact with her. Maybe he'll portal in and bring her some flowers from Hawaii or something. Or I've heard that he has a poisonous octopus. I don't know how we got to poisonous octopus in the story, but we did. And that was about enough for me. Hey, Feeding It, how are you doing? It's nice to see you this late at night. Yep, he'll make a portal potty. Alistair says, if you're sitting in a therapist's office, chances are you are not a narc. Oh, how true is that? The last thing a narcissist would want to do is go to a therapist, although some do, because they are absolutely convinced that the therapist will never see them for what they are. Plus, most narcissists don't believe they're narcissists anyway. They think they're just awesome. So, yeah. Yes, Chad is not... they said at his hearing that he was not allowed to have contact with anyone involved in the case, including third-party contact. So he is not allowed to have contact with Laurie, even through their lawyers. And this is an issue because Mark Means, Laurie's attorney, and John Pryor, Chad's attorney, share an office. What do you think about that? Their lawyers are working out of the same office. So does that count as third-party contact or what? You know? That's kind of an interesting thing. Poisonous octopus is right. Yep. How can I don't know how that can be. I really don't. I know when I looked up the lawyers, someone told me that they share an office. So I was like, okay, let's Google this. So surely enough, doing a quick Google, they have several offices listed, but they both share one office address together. So I don't know how that works. I don't know if the court is aware of it. I don't know if it's a problem legally, but you know, there you go. Tina says, my ex-stepmom is narc. Dealing with her and the wedge she put between my dad and I made me contemplate suicide. Tina, I'm so sorry you went through that. I get it. That is a narcissistic parent, even a step-parent, is a nightmare. And I'm so sorry you had that experience. That's terrible. But I'm glad you're here. And you're here in a safe place where we get it. We understand. Lucy says the lawyers are definitely passing notes between them. I would think so. They're certainly talking to each other, and they have a lot of information to share. So I think we have the illusion that they have different lawyers, but technically they have one team working from both. They have to be sliding messages somehow. Yeah, certainly if their lawyers are sitting in the same office, they could do that easily. But they went to great lengths to be together. They sure did. They went to the greatest length as far as distance, not as far as great acts. But, whew, they're terrible. Yep, Jess Nelson's stepmom, narc. She's got some stories to tell. Tina, you should join us in Discord because we have me and Jess and a lot of people who've been through that ringer. And you're free to chat with us anytime, privately or publicly. Hey, Rachel from Idaho. How are things in Idaho? Any news on the ground? Joe says, what is your understanding of narcissism and power? In relation to what? I'm not sure exactly what you mean by narcissism and power. As it comes to narcissism, once I realized what my ex was and I got away from him, I poured myself into the study of narcissism and cluster B personality disorders like crazy. So I think I have a layman's understanding of narcissism that is vast and encompassing. I am not a psychologist, but I get the basics of it anyway. Stormy, good morning. Wow, you're awake already? I haven't even been to bed yet. Yikes. Stormy, you gotta tell me to go to bed sometimes. I was just going to come on for a few minutes and chit-chat so I could wind down after the day's news. I've been here for, almost 2 hours now? Yeah, there's a lot to talk about. My God. Bipolar Princess. Sarah, hi, honey, how are you? It's raining in southeast Idaho. I guess that's good. So it's not 100 degrees there. Speaking of 100 degrees, I have a friend who lives in Ireland who was complaining to me today at how hot it was. She was melting because it was 72 degrees. And I'm like, honey, you better never come to Texas. You're going to die. 72 degrees. Yeah. All right. That was funny. I love you, Stormy, but that was hilarious. Good night, Alistair. I hope to see you again soon. You take care out there. Oh. Couldn't either one bail out theoretically? They could, Suzanne, if they had enough money in assets to cover a surety bond for their entire bond of $1 million, they could bond out. But I don't think either one of them has that much money. You only have to come up with, I think, 10% in cash, like $100,000 in cash, but they have to be able to provide collateral for the other 900,000. And I think that's why they're both sitting in jail. I don't think there is a bail bondsman in this country that would go out on a limb for those two. So that's good. The octopus poison rumor came across from a tarot. Yeah, that's possible. So we have octopus poison and we have energy poison spirit weapon. Yeah, there's a lot of possibilities as to Chad's choices of weapons. Oh, goodness. Have any charges been brought to the police who did not listen? And the psychic hospital that interviewed Laurie. Oh, the psych hospital. Okay. No, there are no. I don't think there's even any real discussion about charges to the police who didn't listen to Charles, which is really, really sad. It's really, really sad. Yeah. When I saw, there are 3 videos out now of Charles interacting with the police and several 911 calls he made to the police. So 2 audios and 3 videos of Charles telling the police, she's crazy. She's trying to kill me. She wants to kill me with her God powers. She has lost her mind. Please help me. And the police being like, yeah, okay, whatever, dude. And he did get a psychological hold order for her to be evaluated. And she went to the place, Community Bridges, I think it's called, for her evaluation. They talked to her for a little while and let her go. It wasn't even a proper 72-hour hold. They just chatted with her and let her go. If the police had taken Charles seriously, he would probably still be alive. If Melanie Gibb had spoken up at any point during this proceeding, Charles, Tammy, JJ, Tylee, and possibly even Alex would still be alive. There's so many people who let these happen. Awen, will these videos of Charles be able to put in for evidence? Oh, yeah, definitely. Of course, these are videos of him interacting with law enforcement. They'll absolutely be able to be used for evidence. Now, are they reinvestigating Charles's death? I don't think so. I hope that they will as a result of this, but at this time, I don't think they are. According to Danielle Kingston, there's criteria to follow. The detainee must follow the policies of the company. And she said the company assesses the risk of the detained individual. I'm not sure what that's about. I missed something in the conversation. But, okay. Yeah, I did get a message about somebody trying to do a phone call with Laurie. Yes, on one hand, I'm saying I would love to talk to Laurie, but as I've always said, since I started doing podcasts and stuff with Paul, I want to report on the stories, not become part of the story. Like, you will never see me reaching out to family members and being like, hey, will you come on my channel? Right? I will never be doing that. Now, I have been interacting a little bit with some family members that are in like the Facebook groups and stuff, but I am not saying, hey, will you come on my channel? I want to talk to you. Never. I would never do that. I think that's a huge invasion of privacy, and I think that's very, very wrong for me personally. Others want to do it, that's on them. I won't do that. If someone of them came to me and said, hey, I'd like to issue a statement, can I come on your channel with you and do so? I would probably say yes, although I'd really have to think about it. I would really have to think about it, because to me, that's crossing a line from reporting on something to becoming part of it. Okay, so that's still something that I have to learn as I get my feet wet as a true crime YouTube person, where I want to draw those lines. So I don't think I would call Laurie even if she would answer the phone. But the other part of me is like, oh, can you imagine getting to talk to her myself? That would be cool. But yeah, I don't want to become part of the story. I just want to let you know all the news that we discover about it and talk about it. Who is Paul? Paul is awesome. Paul is everything. Paul is life. Let me get you a link to his channel. Reporting live from my sofa, Mr. Paul. He is one of the first YouTubers I ever talked to. Because I would watch YouTube, but I never went into anybody's chat, never said hi. Paul was the first one I talked to, and he was just so warm and welcoming and amazing. And it feels like I've known him my whole life. That's his YouTube channel. I adore this man to the ends of the earth. Paul is wonderful. And Paul and I did a series of true crime podcasts for a while, but he got busy with work, so we didn't have time to keep doing that. Sometimes we do live streams together. We run a Discord server together for his channel. We do book club stuff. We do all kinds of stuff together. We're really good friends, and I adore that man. He is wonderful. So yeah, that's Paul. If Paul didn't have to work and time constraints weren't a thing, I think Paul and I would probably be having our own TV show or something together. That would be great. But yeah, so that's Paul. Yeah, we did arts and crafts. That was funny. Yeah, we ran a couple of book clubs. Oh, a long time ago. We just don't have the real time to do that. The first book club we did was not Anne Rice, Anne Rule's book about Ted Bundy. We talked about that, and that was actually the first time I went on one of Paul's live streams, because I was talking about Ted Bundy, and it relates to his relation to narcissism and how that plays out and what evidence we saw of that in the book. So, and that's it. We just clicked, and we started off and running. And my cat is making noise. What's the matter, baby? Is the door closed? Hey, Expat Mara, are you still watching? Expat Mara in chat is my husband. Are you there? Honey, can you please open the door for the cat? She's very mad that you have blocked off her passage. I guess he's not watching. How could he not be watching me? He's outside doing something else and not watching me? Oh, the horror. I shall have to send him a text message. Yeah, I have to text my husband in the other room to come open the door because the cat is meowing because it's too far away from my desk and I can't reach it. This is what the internet has done to us. It's terrible. All right, send him a text. Oh, he is there. Hi, honey. Expat Myra is my husband. Yeah, come open the door for the cat. There's little Holly is very mad that she can't get to the living room. What are the cluster B types of personality disorders? We have antisocial personality disorder. I'm losing my ability to speak. Antisocial personality, borderline personality disorder, and take your phone in the other room. I don't like your. Leave the door open though. Poor cats. Yeah, brain fart, antisocial, borderline, and histrionic. There you go. And the umbrella for that is sociopathy and psychopathy, although that's the difference between them is still in debate. Yada yada, all that good stuff. Wayne Jones, she must be really suffering not having her lifestyle. She had gold digging. Bail bond company would want to take. Yeah, I can't imagine a bail bondsman taking that risk. Not to mention the risk, but the bad press of being the one who bailed out Laurie Vallow or Chad Daybell. Not something I would want to do. Do you think that narcissist folk can actually heal and transcend? I do not, Jessica. I don't. There are some self-proclaimed, self-aware narcissists that have managed their narcissism, like Sam Vaknin. I'll type his name in chat. I don't know if you've ever heard of him. He's a little triggering, okay? So be careful if you go watch his stuff. He is triggering. He says that he is a narcissist. He's aware of his narcissism and he's managing it, and he wants to help other narcissists manage their narcissism. He has a lot of very good information, but it's hard to watch him because his narcissism, he wears it like a shroud. You can feel it coming through the screen. So it's hard, but if you can get past that, he does have some fascinating information and takes on self-aware narcissists. In general, I would say absolutely not. They cannot heal and they can't transcend it, and they can't even, one of the worst things you can do is take a narcissist to therapy, you know. Excuse me. And most therapists will tell you that you can't really therapyize a narcissist. Unfortunately, because I know a few that I'd like to get their butts in therapy. But yeah. My hubby is too funny. Oh, yeah, he's so funny. You should meet him. In honesty, if any of you have listened to my Toxic Bliss story, which is the story of my time with a narcissist, and you heard me talk about Liam, that's expat Mara. He is my husband. He is Liam in the story. And I've been with him for going on 16 years now. This will be our 16th year this September. And he has been the best thing that has ever happened to me in my life. Him and my children, of course. But yeah, I tease him a lot. He's very funny. He's a very dry British sense of humor, so we get along very well. Don't you lose the 100,000? Oh yeah, if they bond, if they put the $100,000 down and then sneak away, yeah, they lose that, and anything else they put up as collateral for the rest. It's still a very scary situation. God, well, yeah, that is scary. Satan is a scary thing. Losing the reality in a belief system. Yep, there are people that cannot handle approaching religion in a healthy way, and we see the effects of that. I find it interesting that narcissistic people gain healers. What would that be about? I'm not sure what you mean. I read somewhere, but can't remember now. She and Chad were considering suicide together. I'm not sure where you read that. I'd be interested on the source of that, because from what I can see of Chad and Laurie and their teachings and their followings, that's not on the table at all. Hi. My daughter is pointing at me.
Can I have some cookies?
Cookies? I don't eat cookies. I'm on keto. Go away. Get out of here. There are definitely no cookies next to my desk.
Well, I guess I better have the non-existing cookies instead.
These are not Chips Ahoy. These are bacon discs.
Well, can I have some bacon discs?
Sure.
Thanks.
You just busted me in front of Stormy. Now she's going to yell at me tomorrow. Thanks a lot, man. Yeah. Oh, man. Busted. I'm busted. Yes, I have. All right. I've been on keto for about, I don't know, since January. I think I went on keto. I lost about 80 pounds in the last 8 months. I have a whole series on my weight loss journey and exercising and trying to get fit. But the last couple of weeks, about since June 4th, I've kind of lost my mind, and I have not been doing well, and I need to get back on track. I'm trying to work myself up there to get back on track. It's been a struggle. As a lot of you know, I lost a very good friend on June. She died on June 3rd. I found out on the 4th, and I have not coped with it so well, you know. So I've been eating cookies and Kung Pao chicken and stuff. So I need to get back on before I gain all that weight back. That would not be good. Yeah. Kids keep you honest. Yes, they do. I call my daughter Gob on a stick, because you cannot keep a secret around her because she will blab it. Oh, yeah. Yes. Yeah, that other YouTuber, we're not going to say her name. tried to call Laurie. Yeah, I'm not doing that. I'm not. There are other YouTubers that we've seen that have tried to call people on a live stream. They'll just find a phone number of a family member or something and call it up. Like, are you kidding me? Oh, no, no, no. Not cool. So yeah, you'll hear me talk about all kinds of things, but I will not invade the family or people involved in the case. Will not do that. They started as bacon and metamorphosized. Yeah, sure. Oh, man. I'm non-religious. I used to be loosely Christian, but recently let go of it. I've always been a strong, independent, scientific, and reality-based person. It wasn't hard to let go. Tina, I think we're going to be good friends. Absolutely. Yeah, Jessica, I think it's disrespectful, too. It's not cool. And plus, you don't want to get involved. Like, talking to Laurie, I think that would be fascinating. I'd love to hear what she had to say. But you risk making yourself a witness in this case. You risk affecting the criminal investigation by doing something like that. That is not cool. And as much as I don't put a lot of value in Laurie Daybell or her thoughts, I hope her lawyers would tell her, don't be ridiculous. Don't talk to news people. Certainly don't talk to YouTubers. Did any of you guys follow the Heidi Broussard case? There was a lot of trouble with that case and YouTube, to the point where the police had to come out and tell people on YouTube to stop. Can you imagine? I would never want to be someone that law enforcement would have to tell me to stop what I was doing because I was messing up their case. That would be a nightmare. So, yeah, you're not going to catch me doing that. I'll joke about it a lot. And I'll think, wow, that would be cool. But nah, I want to make sure that Laurie and Chad see justice the right way and not going to risk messing that up. No way, man. They have to be approved before they can call in on the video. Well, that's good. But Laurie can call all she wants from what I heard. Well, let's hope somebody doesn't give her a YouTuber's number and tell her to call him to give out her side of the story. That's not cool. Let law enforcement do their work. Don't get in the middle of it. Yeah, Sherry, that's another thing. If Laurie gets your phone number, you think someone like Jason Mao won't get it? You want Jason Mao having your name and phone number? Not me, man. No. Getting yourself involved in a case like this is a really bad idea. Really bad. It's not worth having some extra YouTube views, to put yourself in a situation like that. Ooh. But then again, not all people use the brains God gave them. So, meh. It's said that the Book of Mormon was Joseph Smith using a seer stone is based on the occult. All right. First, it's not based on the occult, but Joseph Smith, during the time of the Great Awakening in the early 1800s, was searching for a religion. And he had a vision of God and Jesus appearing to him. And he said to them, which one of these religions should I go for? Which one is right? And they said, none of them. None of them are right. So he said, well, I guess I got to start my own. So the angel Moroni appeared to Joseph and said, Joseph, over there in this hill, there's a box buried in the hill. Go dig it up, right? And through many trials and tribulations, Joseph finally managed to dig up this box. And in the box, he found the seer stones, which are called Urim and Thummim. He found these stones, and he also found the golden plates. Right, now, these golden plates were inscribed with hieroglyphic-like symbols, and he didn't know what they meant. But using the seer stones, he was able to decipher the text on the golden plates, and that translation became the Book of Mormon. So that's how the Book of Mormon came to be. I can't say that's based on the occult. That's based on God and Jesus telling him to do this, and the angel Moroni, and using the rocks and whatever. Do I think that's a logical, believable thing? No, of course not. But when you're dealing with systems of faith, sometimes you got to believe things like that. And for Mormons, they believe in that. So that's where that came from. South Park has an excellent layer. I did, Becky. I think it was sometime last week. I was doing more research into all this, and I stumbled across the South Park, a reference to the South Park episode on the Mormons, and I was like, I gotta watch this. And my husband walks in the room, and he's like, "What are you watching?" Because there's South Park on my screen. It's like, this is my Mormonism research, and he just kind of like pats me on the head and walks away. It was a good episode. I thought it was actually fair for South Park. It was actually quite kind, So yeah, it was interesting. Oh, hi Linda, how are you doing? Yep, I read Kathleen Zellner's response. Oh, the state response to Zellner's response is in already? Oh, interesting. That'd be cool. Yeah, I read Zellner's filing today. That was kind of good. But yeah, South Park did become part of my research because, you got to cover all your bases if you want to get a good, round knowledge of this. So, yeah. Oh, that was too funny. Yep, Kathleen Zellner did file another response. Man, I'm so tired of the circle jerk in that case. I would say just like have the new trial already. Well, all this fighting about it. The state is so annoying. Was Mormonism a way to allow man to have well, no. I don't think Joseph Smith created Mormonism for the purpose of having an excuse for polygamy. It became part of Mormonism a little bit with Joseph Smith, not as much as when Brigham Young became the leader. After Joseph Smith was murdered, there was a succession crisis, and a lot of people were vying to lead the Mormon church. And Brigham Young won his campaign, sort of, and he became the leader of the church. And for him and the quorum of the 12 apostles, polygamy became a thing, much more mainstream, so to speak, with Brigham Young. But it wasn't for everyone. It wasn't like every Mormon could be a polygamist. It was only for the upper echelon of the church. Okay, so that's not the most well-known thing either. However, when Brigham Young was, really pushing the polygamy thing, Utah was also trying to become a state at the time, and the government would not allow Utah its statehood while polygamy was still a thing. Right? So, in order to fix this, the Mormon Church, instead of just saying, okay, fine, no more polygamy, so Utah can be a state. Instead of just saying that, they had to have a revelation from God that told them polygamy was wrong. So they ended the practice of polygamy, saying it was from a revelation from God, so Utah could gain statehood, so the church could really get its footing. And then polygamy was not part of the church. So it's been a long time since polygamy has not been a part of the mainstream Mormon church. But then you have your offshoots like FDLS and Warren Jeffs and all that stuff. But yeah, there was a small period of time where polygamy was a thing. Excuse me. Yeah, the revelations. It's interesting to me how often the direction of the church has been drastically changed by revelations from God, which oddly coincide with political or social pressures of the times. How curious. But yeah, that's that. Yeah, there wouldn't be enough women for all the men to be polygamists. That's true. If they were all polygamists, then they'd have problems. Yep, Linda's going to go read Casey's brief. It was very interesting. If someone agrees to polygamy, whatever you want to do, yeah. If it's one thing if like a family says, yeah, okay, we'll have a polygamous marriage, and it's their private decision. But when we look at FDLS, it's not really a choice. I don't think these women are giving as much of a choice as they may say they are, so I have a big problem with that, especially the underage marriages and things like that. That's a big problem. And I get the freedom of religion thing, but there's a line, and that line is being crossed every way possible with that mess. And that bothers me a lot. What do you think of, that lady, Linda, that's Julie Rowe. I think that she is crazy in ways that we don't often see. All right. Everything that comes out of Julie Rowe's mouth is some weird imagination thing. And she changes her story every time she opens her mouth. Chad was the greatest thing since sliced bread last week. The day the kids' bodies are found, all of a sudden, oh, he's terrible, he's a sexual predator. Like, okay. She's just trying to save face, but she's crazy. Linda, she's absolutely crazy. She's crazier than Chad and Laurie combined. So, yeah. Julie was a very vocal and loud defender of him. Yep. Yeah. Linda puts it very eloquently. Nutbag's crazy. Yep. Oh. Yeah, the Warren Jeffs thing is scary. Oh, Jessica, you're starting keto on the 1st. Excellent. Excellent. That is wonderful. I am going to get back to making my mindful and fit videos because I need to. That was one thing that Denise was so proud of me for, and she was pushing me so hard to really succeed on that. And I feel like I've let her down the last couple of weeks because I have not been focused on my diet. I need to get back to that. Get back to making videos because I want to help other people like me, people that are very overweight and feel like they can't exercise or they have mobility issues and thinking, oh, I can never do this, it's too overwhelming. To say, yeah, you can do it with me, we got this. So I need to be a source of motivation and inspiration and do it by example. Meaning, like, here, I've had videos of me exercising at the gym. They are not pretty. I have a hard time looking at them because, yeah. But I want to show people that, yeah, it's not pretty, but you can do it. If I can do it, so can you. So definitely need to get back on Mindful and Fit. It is a fun time. I even got Paul to do keto, and he lost a lot of weight. He was looking so good, but he's starting to fall off the wagon a bit too. So I got to talk to Paul. And we got to recommit, get back on it, and do it together. When it comes down to it, religion and spirituality have nothing in common. Yep, I agree. I am a very spiritual person, but I am very not a religious person. I think they're two entirely separate things. I don't understand the virtue of wanting to claim abuse reception by Chad. I don't either. I think she's just trying to make herself look better. She's trying to stay relevant so she can be on TV, so she can get interviews, and she's just trying to make a name for herself. But she doesn't realize the name that she's making for herself is that wacko lady. You know? She is. She's crazy. Oh. My mom asked for your channel today. You better get back on it. Oh, yeah. If Jess's mom is watching, then I better get back on my diet tomorrow. Yikes. Don't tell her I eat cookies. She'll yell at me. But yes, I confess my sins unto all of you. I have eaten Kung Pao chicken, and I've eaten Chips Ahoy cookies. And I had some Tonight Dough Ben & Jerry's, and it was really, really good. Oh, I know, Paula. Me either. I need to stop that. I just have so much to say about this case. I can't stop thinking about it. I can't turn my brain off. So coming here to chat with you guys about it is a good thing to do before bed. You know. I know. Go ahead. I accept your shame. Go ahead. Point your finger at me. Yell at me. It was awful. I am a terrible person. But have you ever tried the Tonight Dough Ben & Jerry's? That is some really good stuff, man. Wow, it was delicious. Yeah, Chad's portal aspirated them. That's it. Or it was the adversary who made me eat the cookies. I thought they were broccoli. That's all. Tomorrow, are you sure? All right, fine. Tomorrow we're back in the... All right, I'm telling you right here, doing it live, okay? You are all my witnesses. There are 162 people in chat. You are my witnesses. My husband is here to listen to me too. Tomorrow, I am back on keto 100%. I promise. And that's it. If I mess up, My husband will tell on me. All right. He's not going to cover if I try to cheat. And that's it. Tomorrow, back in. I can do it. I'll need all your help. I may do a lot of crying for the next couple of days. It takes me a good 4 or 5 days to get the sugar out of my system. And it hurts and it's hard. And I will cry. But I'm doing it. I'm doing it. Tomorrow, back on. My goal is to lose 100 pounds in a year. So I've got 4 months to lose 20 more pounds. But I know I've gained some. So I'm going to have to lose 20 plus what I have regained in the last couple of weeks. So, yeah. Yep, Jess, you can talk to my daughter. My daughter is on our Discord channel. She's also a mod in here. So my husband and daughter will tell on me if I cheat. All right, but I got this. Keto's not a bad diet. I can eat steak every day if I want. I can have all kinds of fried chicken. Well, not breaded chicken, but, fried chicken, and I can have delicious things. So I'm going to eat delicious food that is not carby. And while I do that, Stormy's going to throw out that bag of marshmallows she bought today. Haha. Right, Stormy? Yep, real butter. Real butter is great. So, yeah. Yeah, we're gonna throw out all the carbs in the house. We'll have a little carb funeral outside. Oh, what is keto? Keto is the ketogenic diet. It is the newer version of a low carbohydrate diet that invokes a system. It puts your body in a state of ketosis lipolysis, where your body is burning fat for energy instead of glucose. Right? And it helps you to burn stored body fat much faster than a low-calorie or low-fat diet. So that's what works for me. Oh, that's right. Oh, guys, you want to hear a story? Here's a story. I totally forgot about this. About 2 weeks ago, my husband's boss was off work because he was sick, right? And from the symptoms he described were like, oh, no, it's COVID. This is terrible. Now, this guy, my husband's boss, didn't really believe this whole COVID thing was real. He was one of the it's a hoax types. And I even went into the store and I had an in-person argument with this guy because I felt that his behavior was putting my family at risk because he wasn't taking it seriously and protecting his employees, right? So I was like, I went down there myself in person and yelled at this guy. I don't know if I'm here or not. Somebody say something in chat if you can hear me right now. Dave, is it working? Is this working? You hear me now? Okay. All right. It froze up on my screen for some reason. All right, there we go. All right. So I went and I yelled at the boss, and the boss is like, blah, 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 and whatever. And I'm like, dude, I am the closest thing to an epidemiologist you are ever going to talk to. Take me seriously. And he wouldn't. So I got really pissed off. Anyway, 2 weeks ago, he tested. He was out sick, and we're like, did you get tested for COVID? He's like, it's not COVID, it's just a flu. But he said that he tested negative, right? So we're like, okay. So he comes back to work, and then a couple days later, now he's out of work again, saying that he has to stay home and self-quarantine because his mother tested positive. And I'm like, I'm sure she did. That means you must have given it to her, right? So he finally got his test done, and the district manager called tonight and said, yep, he tested positive for COVID. So they're closing the store. They have to do a deep sanitization of everything, and all of the employees have to get tested, and they get paid to stay home until they get the test results. So that's kind of a small blessing right there. So Dave's going to have a couple of days off from work paid, which is nice. But I have a daughter who has an interstitial lung disease. And that's a whole nother crazy conspiracy story type thing, but we'll do that some other time. But she is extremely high risk for COVID. If COVID comes into this house and she got it, she would probably not survive it. Okay, so that is terrifying to me. So we have been mighty vigilant about keeping that germ out of the house. But to know that his boss tested positive, and this is the guy who refused to listen about how real this was and would thwart attempts at sanitation of the store and stuff, and the business, they didn't even want the employees to wear masks at first. because that would scare people or something. I personally went to the headquarters of this business and met with the dudes there and were like, they need to wear masks. Well, we can't really have masks about, like, they need to wear masks, you dumbasses, So anyway, but yeah, now Dave's boss has tested positive for COVID. So Dave has to go have another test tomorrow, and he's going to be home for a couple of days until the test results. But if he tests positive because his boss, the jerk, refused to take it seriously and spread it to people at work, I am going to be angry. Very angry. So, man. So yeah, even if you don't believe in COVID, you don't have to believe it, but you do have to act responsibly for people around you. So please, wear a mask. Texas is exploding in new cases. We have more new cases percentages by the day now than we did back in February because people don't believe it. And it's spreading like crazy here in Texas. It's a hot spot now. And I asked my mom tonight if I could bring my daughter to Connecticut because Connecticut is dealing with it much better. And I'm so worried that she's going to get it. And my mom said, I would love to have her here because I know I could keep her safe here. But there's a quarantine. You can't come into Connecticut from Texas. They will not let people from Texas into the state of Connecticut right now because Texas is such a hot spot. And I'm like, oh, what do I do? So I'm a little bit freaky about that. Yes, the lady that is recovering from cancer still works at the store. Yep. Now, of course, now she has to get tested too and all that. And but yeah. So I am a little freaked out. I am because I might survive it. I might not. I don't know. My husband might or might not. But my daughter definitely would not survive it. And there's only so much you can do outside of locking our door, and nobody leaves this apartment until this is over. That's the only way to ensure that she stays safe. So, it's a tough thing because we're dealing with the mentality here where I live in my town is it's no big deal. It's not real. People aren't wearing masks. All the restaurants are full. It's just like, guys, really, do you not get this? So yeah, I'm a little freaked out about that. Trying not to be. What is your channel for that? I don't have a channel for what? A channel for COVID? I don't have one. My weight loss stuff is all on this channel. I only have this one YouTube channel. So everything's here. Bolt the door and don't move. Stormy, I really want to. And I might consider, depends on Dave's test results. What I would like to do is go redo up all my food stores, get another 4 to 6 weeks worth of everything in the house, lock the door, and that's it. We just don't leave. Period. Nobody leaves the house. Nobody comes in. Nobody goes out. So we shall see. Do I think Laurie or Chad will flip on each other? No, I don't. I think they're going to stick to their story. I think they're going to try to blame Alex because I think they're stupid to think law enforcement doesn't know where their phones were too. So, yeah. My biggest fear is not getting COVID, but giving it to my loved ones. Shelly, yep. If I get it and I get sick, whatever. If I give it to my daughter, oh my word. I am terrified that she's going to get it. So, yeah, that's what we're dealing with here tonight. Fun times. Oh, you want to get Linda right up? You talk about owls, and then you talk about flat earthers. One thing I did not see in 2020 is Linda K. destroying flat earthers on her YouTube live stream. That was amazing. Linda, I was so proud of you. I was like, yes, you go with that science. That was wonderful. Lorick. No, we are not saying that in this chat. No, we are not saying that. And Jessica, we're not talking about that channel here either, if you don't mind. Oh, but yeah, the world is crazy. Hold the bus. I have, Leanne. When I started my weight loss journey, I was at 367 pounds. I weighed in at 285 a couple weeks ago. So 82 pounds in 8 months. doing primarily keto. I didn't start off as keto, but I switched to keto because the low calorie wasn't working so well. No owls, just flat earthers. Yeah, Linda doesn't like owls. And I tell people she likes owls to send her owl pictures. She doesn't really like owls. Oh, goodness. So yeah, I started this channel because I wanted to do my series of my weight loss videos. And I wanted to do my series about narcissism. But now apparently I am doing true crime. So here we go. But I do want to continue the weight loss and the narcissism. I just need to learn how to balance my time between the 3 different topics. My theory, this cult and its relation to end times has something to do with children being privy to darkness, like there's an underlying belief that they're unlikely to make it. That's an interesting thought. Certainly not out of the realm of possibility. Our world is so nuts that aliens are seeking other planets. Yeah, they'd probably swing by and be like, nope, keep going. I think Melanie P was being brainwashed for her family to sacrifice her own kids. That's a stretch, but, it's not entirely impossible. Unpossible is now a word. Yes, we are not contacting inmates here. Nope, we're not doing that. As interesting as it may be to talk to Laurie, we are not going to do that. Narcs fit totally tie into all of it. Yep. She will. I do. I felt so much better. I hired a personal trainer, and I was going to the gym a couple times a week and really working out and strengthening and main thing was getting my mobility back. And it's just been an amazing journey. It's a lot of fun. Yeah. The dark triad, Manuela. Weight loss, narcissism, and true crime. Dun, dun, dun. Yeah. And they all kind of tie into each other at the end of the day, Oh, yep. Nutrition, narcissists, and murder. There you go. Because what do they say about diet? Diet is just die with a capital T. So, yeah. It's all the same thing. Oh. Man. Oh, all right. Well, it has been over 2 hours. I want to thank you guys for being here. I really needed to talk tonight. I had so much on my mind. And there was no news in the case today. So, I don't even have a video to make about the case because, there's just nothing to say. And that's kind of sad. Hopefully we'll get some news, something that we could... I saw there is a keto channel where they talk about the keto diet and crimes. That's kind of cool. I like that. What do you think the benefit of them getting divorced and remarried? I'm not sure. I think it had a lot to do with Chad. So I think he was the machination behind that. In your opinion, is Japan a nuclear accident? Yes, it is, Leah. It is most definitely still an issue. For some reason, that got kind of swept off the media and out of the mainstream. Fukushima is still releasing tons of toxic waste into the ocean every single day, and there's no sign of that slowing. So, yeah, it's still a big problem. I follow that very, very closely. And it's sad. I wouldn't go, deep sea fishing in the Pacific. Let's say that. Not my thing. All right. But yes, I'm going to go to bed. I need to go spend some time with expat Mara, the husband over there. I miss my husband. And my son is looking at me, making googly eyes. I think he's tired. And time to go find my cats. So yeah, cats, kids, husband. It is family time. But thank you all for being here. As soon as there's more news in the case, I will get those videos right up right away. And I'll bring you any breaking news by going live if it happens. So please hit the subscribe. If you want to hear my deep dive on the history of Mormonism, that'll be on Patreon channel. And within the next 24 to 48 hours, my Endtime Cult, Narcissist, and Chad Daybell video will be up. So there's a lot going on all over the place. I love you all. Thank you so much for the support. Thank you for the super chats. Thank you for talking to me. I loved getting to really read chat and talk about your questions tonight and listen to your views. That was wonderful. Linda, excuse me, Linda K listening. She has a YouTube channel. Linda, drop a link into your channel. She is starting coverage of the Daniel Holtzclaw case, which is a fascinating case. I'm still on the fence about what I think about that case, so I'm very interested to follow her and see where she goes with that case and what information she's going to bring to the table. So it's a great case. Linda is great to listen to. So she had her first video up on it tonight. So go ahead and give Linda a follow and follow the cases over there. She has a lot of Making a Murderer info. She's covering the $50 million bullet case and now Daniel Holtzclaw too, which is absolutely fascinating. So yeah, Carb Stormy. I almost called you Carby. Carby with a chance of rainbows. Tomorrow morning, no more carbs. So I'm going to go hunt around the house and find all the carbs left and gobble them up before I go to bed. No, I won't do that. Tomorrow's carb funeral day. All right. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate it. There's a link to Linda's channel. Please go sub to her and follow that case. It's a very cool thing. And we'll talk to you soon. Good night, everyone.